You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton, on this first Tuesday of June? Thanks for being with us here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. How are you on this fine morning?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Well, I'm a little sleep deprived.
Well, you were jet setting over the weekend. I mean, nothing says living that life like going to Baltimore.
Well, it was a nice, relaxing weekend with my wife's best friend and her family. And we're very fond of the two kids, the two boys. But, the flying, I hope this is not a indication of what my year is going to be like. I hope this is just, hey, let's get it out of the way now. Because lots of delays getting home last night. I mean, hell, plane only landed about 6.5 hours ago, to be honest with you. And it was supposed to land much earlier than that. So let's hope this is, let's get this stuff out of the way so I got a good fall football travel, either that or sometime during the football season. I'm going to say, remember that trip I took in June? It was kind of a precursor to what's going on.
Well, this is the thing where I don't worry about it too much. You made it back. All the wheels landed on the ground and you walked off the plane. So delays to me are not that big of a deal as compared with the alternatives.
Well, when you put it that way, Mark, you make a dadgum good point. Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. Man, there's a lot of stuff to talk about in the sports world for the first full week of June. I mean, this is supposed to be a fairly quiet time. And, man, we got a lot of meat on the bone.
Well, it helps when there's a new organization starting.
Well, we got that.
We've seemed to have that this time of year every year. And this one actually, unlike many of the other spring leagues that have started, this league is starting in the spring with some serious star power.
You talking about the USFL?
No. I was kind of talking about it because I think we've had a spring league start every year it seems like every year for the past 5 a spring league started. None of them been worth a damn. I don't know if this one's going to be worth a damn. But unlike all the other ones, this one has a DJ and a fill.
And money.
Yeah, it has money. There's no doubt. The other one supposedly, there's been a bunch of them that supposedly had money. Not this kind of money, I get it. But at what point when you're losing millions upon millions do you pull the plug? That's inevitably what I'm most curious with this. And I know their pockets are incredibly deep. I get it. It's Saudi oil money. I understand. At some point, if you're going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars, at some point there's an end game to that. So I'm fascinated by what the long-term play of this is, because I don't think this weekend means a whole hell of a lot.
Well, there's no way that this tour can ever make money. I mean, not if they are spending the kind of money that reportedly they are spending. I mean, reportedly they gave Dustin Johnson $125 million. Over how long a period of time, I have no idea. But it can't be longer than 3 years. I mean, the tour has never talked about a plan of longer than 3 years. There's a certain number of tournaments that they want to run. This year, they're going to run 8. All right. Next year, I believe the plan is 10. They wanted to be at 14. They might have been at 14 if not for Phil's comments that got relayed back in January, which apparently derailed a whole lot about this tour. I think a lot more players were in late January, early February, and they backed out since. So the tours, it took a huge step back, is my understanding, and now they are inching forward. But they got Phil and they got DJ, and they've reportedly paid $325 million up front just to get Phil and DJ.
That doesn't even go into what they've paid all these other players, because
Right.
the report is the U.S. amateur champ that's a Michigan State kid got $4.5 million to show up this week. Now, whether that's for this week, I'm guessing that's for the whole season. But that's still 10 tournaments that he's guaranteed $450,000 a tournament, or 8 tournaments, so a little bit more than that, a little bit more than $500,000 a tournament.
Right. Like, I don't know if that $4.5 million is just for this year. I don't know if it's a 3-year commitment, whatever it is, which still for that kid, it's $1.5 million a year.
It's life-changing money.
Right. Right. Never mind the fact these are no-cut tournaments. So if you're in the 48-man field,
you're getting a check.
Right.
Unlike what he did last week at the Memorial, where he didn't make the cut.
And I think the week before that as
where
well.
He didn't make the cut.
Right.
Correct.
And you could see why certain guys would do this. But I have no idea with the amount of money that they're throwing around, A, in weekly purses, and B, they're doing appearance fees. Unlike the PGA Tour, they are doing appearance fees. I have no idea. And right now, Lee Westwood tried to give away 100 tickets. He's got 7 figures worth of followers on Twitter. And Lee Westwood tried to give away for the last few days 100 tickets. Tweet me at, whatever it was. Don't know if he gave away 12. This tournament's in London. He's English. Kind of a big deal over there from a golfing standpoint.
You would think some of those Twitter follows would be in the greater London area.
Right. And, the tournament's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And he was saying it's, basically you could go any of the 3 days. I got 100 tickets. Use them whenever you want. Couldn't give them away on his Twitter account.
Well, we always talk about poll questions, even though we very rarely come up with one that's worth a damn. But I was contemplating putting something out of, are you going to watch this or the PGA Tour, or, I don't watch golf, period. Okay, that's fine. But I can't put up a question where your choices, you can watch Miller and Moulton in more places in the United States than you can watch the LIV Tour. We've got them by one, David. They're on Facebook, YouTube. We're on Twitch. I'm surprised the LIV Tour is not on Twitch. In fact, we should ask to see if we could put it on our Twitch channel.
Well, there's a couple names associated with the tour that I have. Do you want me to email somebody and say, hey, can we simulcast this on the Miller and Moulton Twitch channel?
If we didn't have our golf tournament on Saturday, I would suggest that we get up and do a LIV Tour broadcast. What are they going to do? Shut it down?
No. Don't know how many people would be interested.
It doesn't matter. We'd drink Bloody Marys. We'd have a lot of fun. It'd be a good Saturday morning.
Would the drinking game be any time that they say LIV?
Oh, see, I think this would be like one of those, whether it's Barstool or like a watch party. We wouldn't worry about the announcers. You and I would be announcing this. Got to be better than what they're doing. I mean, there is part of me that will watch a little bit of Facebook or YouTube of this just to see, because if I were them, I would be treating this like TNT. I wouldn't be treating it like the Golf Channel. And golf has a tough time doing that. I mean, we have Paul Bissonnette on TNT, who lost a bet with his podcast partner, Ray Whitney, and shaved his head like he's a 70s bowler. TNT had that live on air.
Right.
That's how you handle trying to make a sport better. That's putting a little fun into it. I will be fascinated to see if the LIV can put any fun into their golf broadcast. I would highly doubt it.
Well, I know they're going to try. And they hired someone who's never done golf before. Arlo, is it White? The soccer announcer who was doing one of the major European soccer leagues on NBC and left like a week or so ago and is now going to be the voice of the LIV series. And Jerry Foles left the Golf Channel. He was the main on-course golf commentator for all of the LPGA Tour. and he left to be, I think, the main analyst in the booth. So basically, he's their Faldo, their Azinger. I actually thought about this yesterday when it became official about Phil. I wonder if that's where Phil's going to be in the booth at some point in time. Because Phil is now dead on the PGA Tour. Done. I expect the PGA Tour to come down and declare all of these players banned. It's just a matter of for how long, but that Phil's statement yesterday basically said, I'd like to thank my 30 years on the PGA Tour, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to play the LIV in the majors. Which, if you think of it, it's 12 events. And next year it would be 14. Be 10 LIV events and 4 majors. Well, Mark, the big boys don't want to play much more.
Right.
They play 15's the minimum requirement. No. And the majors count, so you can play 11 tour events in the 4 majors, and there you go, and still keep your PGA Tour privileges.
Be curious how long the tour is going to wait before they lay down the hammer.
Well, I would wait for them to tee off on Thursday, and I would do it Thursday. I would also want to get it out of the way this week. I don't want to drag it into next week. It's U.S. Open week next week. If I'm the PGA Tour, I want to do what I'm going to do it this week, and then let the Open be the Open.
It'll be interesting because you could pull that off theoretically in the time that they tee off, but before you tee off, almost. I don't know exactly when the tee times are Thursday over there, if they're going to play middle of the day, but you've got the Canadian Open this week. It'll be interesting to see if there's almost a gap there.
Well, they're doing a shotgun start for the LIV series. And I actually have heard a couple of the guys who are playing in it say they like it, and they like it for this reason, then everybody plays in the same weather conditions. But, it's only 48 guys. So it's 12 foursomes, 16 threesomes. I mean, however they're going to do it.
Well, it's a team event, so it's got to be foursomes, right? Or
I would think. So they're going to basically start teeing off right around the early tee-offs of the Canadian Open. Miller and Moulton.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Mark, we're playing golf.
Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up now.
I'd like to thank Budweiser, Twin Peaks, and Southwest Florida Golf Carts. Got some good stuff there, flgolfcarts.com.
Where are you going to go? floridasportsnetwork.com. Sign up for our tournament, Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Your golf will include your foursome and a chance to have lunch and awards after.
Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, Johnny Mac, if you want to, I don't know if you can bet the LIV Golf Series, but I'll give you all a tip out there. Throw some money on Scott Vincent. He's a 30-year-old out of Zimbabwe. Married an American girl, went to college at Virginia Tech. They live in Denver. He's won his last two events the last 2 weeks. He won an event on the Japanese Tour the last weekend of May, and he just won an event on the Asian Tour in England last week. First ever Asian Tour event they played in Europe.
What's his name?
Scott Vincent from Zimbabwe. If there are odds, I'm guessing you'll get pretty good odds. He's playing the best golf of his life. 2 wins in the last 2 weeks on 2 different tours. I mean, it'd be real easy to bet, the 6 or 7 names that everybody recognizes, but I figure you get some odds on Scott Vincent. Yeah, Mac, I don't know why the Oilers wear anything but their whites. Their white uniforms are terrific.
You don't like the navy blues?
Hate them.
Hate them.
Hate them.
It's not their colors.
Hate them. When you're out there looking like a MAC football team on Tuesday nights on the Deuce, it's a bad uniform choice. I didn't understand. Who was it saying it was a Bettman conspiracy?
Yeah, I don't have any idea.
I'll say this. I mean, the NHL can't lose now. They're going to get the Lightning going for a three-peat, or they're going to get the Rangers in the final. I mean,
When was the last time the Avs made the Stanley Cup final?
0-1.
All right. Now that Phil Mickelson and Justin Johnson have joined the LIV Tour, what do you think of their decision? Support it 100%. They are sellouts.
Yeah.
Sorry, damn poll questions up.
Wow. Oh.
Michael White, the Kiwi coach, left for the money, left UW to go to Texas. What kind of raise do you think you get when you go from UW to Texas as a women's softball coach?
Pretty significant. Up 5-0 at home and lost.
$15 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Did I hear you right? We already have a poll question?
Yeah, your damn poll question's up. Are you happy?
Wow, this is early for us. Don't take it out on me or anything. I mean, we didn't even do one yesterday. So, I mean, we're kind of easing into it this week. I mean, a 5-day work week this week. It was an adjustment.
Dreadful.
Was one of the first things we campaigned on 15 years ago. We were running for Congress.
Weed, gambling, and a 4-day work week. That was basically our platform. 2 of the 3 have happened.
Don't know why we couldn't raise enough money to run as a joint ticket. We were ahead of the curve there.
Man, oh man.
We may be behind the times on a lot of things, but I think we were ahead of the curve on at least 2 of those 3 issues. So, all right, what's the poll question?
It has to do with this LIV Tour, David. Now that DJ and Phil Mickelson have joined the LIV Tour,
right?
What do you think of their decision? Support it 100%, or they are sellouts?
All right.
So far, sellouts winning unanimously. I haven't voted yet, for the record.
That's a tough one. Because can it be both?
Yes. There's part of me thinking that I did this and went, the answer is all of the above.
I mean, they're golfers, which means they're independent contractors. So, yeah, they took the cash. But then again, you only play for 2 things: prestige and money. And you can have both by playing on the LIV Tour series, whatever it is.
David, let me ask you a question, because I don't remember players jumping to the USFL the way they jumped to the World Football League. In the World Hockey Association. And players, it's a little before my time, because I would think that they were blasted the same way. We like status quo. We do not like anyone to, as much as we say we like new ideas, David, when new ideas come and this new tour, I don't know anybody that supports the LIV Tour. I really don't, other than Greg Norman.
All right.
But no, I'm in a casual conversation. I play golf. I'm with people who watch golf. I'm with more people that watch golf. Not one of them has said a positive thing about the LIV Tour.
All right. What's their biggest complaint, though?
Not really any complaints. They just don't like it.
All right.
It's change for sake of change, and that bothers them.
But I don't think it's because of the Saudi Arabia part of the equation. I mean, I would like to think that's why people would be against it. They just don't like the Saudis. They still hold them responsible for the events of September 11th. And so the oil prices, if they want to blame them in some way, shape, or form. And so, but that's not the animus that I think I'm hearing. It sounds like you're just saying people don't want the PGA Tour to be disrupted in any way, and so that's why they're against it.
That's what I seem to be getting from folks.
So it's not a moral high ground objection. Well, but I do think that's
important. Do we have
those
anymore?
Well, no.
Okay.
No, I mean, we don't stand for nearly what we used to.
I want to make sure I wasn't laughing at you.
No, I know
just
that.
merely laughing at the idea of...
No, I got it. But I do think it's an important distinction. If you're right, if the group of people that you hang with at your country club and the golfers, whether there or elsewhere that you play golf with, because I don't play golf anymore. So I don't hang with golfers unless I'm working a golf tournament.
And golf media is a far cry from golfer.
Well, right, because they're actually high and almighty, and they're, if you were to read golf media, they're on their moral high ground course, and it's twofold. It's what you're doing to the PGA Tour, but also it's the Saudis.
Or at least that's what they're trying to tell you it is.
Right. And of course, there are many of us that are like, oh, you didn't write or say anything bad about the Saudis when these tournaments were all taking place there. And these golfers were going and playing at them on 1 week or 2 week, vacations.
I think a lot of them don't like Greg Norman.
Well, and then there's that. I think a lot of them are just covering their ass, to be honest with you, and they're all in bed with the PGA Tour, and they're trying to kiss the you-know-what of the PGA Tour more than the other guy. I'm so in bed with you. You want to see how in bed I am with you? I'm going to write a column this time that's even more in bed than I was with you last week. I think there's a lot of that going on. But I do think it's important to draw the distinction of, well, I just don't like them leaving the PGA Tour. I kind of liked watching, the Wells Fargo with DJ in it versus I can't believe they would go play in a series that's financed by Saudi Arabia, those blankety blanks.
And I think it's A. I think it's just simply A. It's the PGA Tour. I watch that on the weekends, and I want all the golfers to play on the PGA Tour. I really think that's what it is. That may trivialize this a little bit to some, but I that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm seeing. Our text number is 21,000. The keyword is FSN Radio. Would love to hear from the golfers out there. If you're on moral high ground and you don't like this tour because of the Saudis, I would love to hear that. If you don't like this tour because of Greg Norman, I would like to hear that as well.
Because now that it's official, Phil is in. I've made the comments in the past, I don't think Phil's going to lose 6 fans over this. If you're a Phil Mickelson fan, you like to watch Phil Mickelson play golf, right?
Absolutely. I agree with you, by the way. Now, I don't know if they watch him on this tour, but when he goes and plays in the U.S. Open and in the majors, they're not going to be booing Phil Mickelson.
Well, that will be interesting. Will he, in fact, face some boos on the first tee if he plays in the U.S. Open a week from Thursday? Will he get booed on the first tee? Will he and a few others get booed at St. Andrews when they tee it up in the Open Championship in 5 weeks? I do think it will be interesting. Some of the European stalwarts also. And I mean, Europe's gotten really into this Ryder Cup thing in the last 35 years. And now you're going to have a generation of studs on the European Ryder Cup team who are all playing in this LIV Golf Series. Are they really going to be booed on the first tee at St. Andrews?
I don't think that they are.
Oh, I don't think so either. But to me, if they're booed, I think, Mark, they're booed because of the whole Saudi Arabia thing. I don't think they're going to get booed because they're not playing the Memorial.
Boy, that of itself is fascinating, that we're going to start attacking players for their blood money and let so many other things slip by. I really would find it fascinating that if this is the line in the sand we draw because athletes are taking money from the Saudis. Golfers. Okay. That's your moral high ground. Congratulations.
Miller and Moulton. So our poll question, Phil made it official yesterday. He's playing on the LIV Tour. And so now we ask the question, your thoughts. You okay with these big name guys leaving the PGA Tour and playing in the LIV Series? Or do you think they're sellouts and you're not in favor of it? You're no longer fans. That's our poll question.
Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or FloridaSportsNetwork.com to vote.
Got the starting 5 coming up next. There's a lot that went on yesterday and last night in the world of sports. We'll get you updated on it next. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Mark, we're playing golf.
Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up now.
I'd like to thank Budweiser, Twin Peaks, and Southwest Florida Golf Carts. Got some good stuff there, flgolfcarts.com.
Where are you going to go? floridasportsnetwork.com. Sign up for our tournament Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Your golf will include your foursome and a chance to have lunch and awards after.
Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
It's worth reading on the show, though. I mean, you pick parts of it and read it. And I don't know if it wasn't PTI. What's the show on before PTI?
Around the horn?
Yeah. I guess Sarah Spain called the Five Rays bigots for their view.
Well, and I didn't say this on air, and I wouldn't say it on air. But, David, the reason you can get away with that is that athletes are really homophobic. You want to know why it doesn't matter in the clubhouse? They might not have any gay players. And even if they do, they got to be so in the closet.
Well, that's true.
I mean, we want to tell truths. I'll speak them.
Well, Arch, see, the problem is it's tough to take a team sport argument and then also transfer it over to golf and vice versa. But I mean, Arch, that's what we had. It was called the USFL. It was called the World Football League. I mean, we've had a couple of the ABA, the WHA.
Well, didn't the World Football League come in? Didn't they try to steal all the players? Wasn't there a short-lived World Football League in the 70s?
Yeah.
They stole all the Dolphins.
They tried. Yeah.
I
they
mean,
tried Zonka and Kick.
Stole players.
They tried to. Yeah. Signed Warfield, Zonka and Kick.
That's the league to me. That and the ABA are the leagues most like this, as opposed to a USFL. Because USFL just got college. I mean, they get some, but they got college guys. They didn't go after the established. This is going after. It reminds me more of the World Football League, I guess. I see Canada to relate.
Yeah, I think, though, everybody's wrong. I think Bettman got the job in February of 93. I think Bettman's first Stanley Cup was the Canadians. Look it up. I don't think his first cup was handing it to Messier.
February 1, 1993.
Yeah. See, his first cup was the Canadians.
Arch makes a great point there.
Do you have a jacket over there? Wow. Well, you're going to have trouble falling asleep today because you're going to be
taking
cold. You got anything in the car? Nothing?
You told me to leave something in the car. I forgot.
Well, first off, I told you to stuff something in your bag.
Why don't you just make some coffee? That's warm.
There you go.
I think I might need 2 cups today. By the way, my mom is pissed at Phil.
So she was a Phil fan.
I think, but she just doesn't like his decision.
Okay, but is she not going to watch him, support him? I mean,
Is it
Probably
the Saudi
not.
thing?
What'd you say?
Is it the Saudi thing?
I think so.
we'll have to book her on the show.
She probably would
Right
answer
when
the
you get those
question.
sounders from Grandma.
Sell out. "15 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bob Harig scheduled to join us 1 hour from now, live from London. He's there for the first LIV series event. And Bob, who has written a book, it's been out a couple of months, about Tiger and Phil and their rivalry. Bob interviewed Phil Mickelson late yesterday. First interview with Phil was given to Bob Harig. He is scheduled to join us 1 hour from now. And Pat Kirwan will join us at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. There's plenty of NFL stuff to talk about as well. In fact, we'll get to it right now with the unbelievable.
The starting five. 5 stories you need to know.
Here's the
It's
problem.
Starting 5 on Miller and
You and I
Moulton.
both know he doesn't
Here's
care about
number
the
1.
job. But
Right.
there's no one else that wants to get up
That's
to do
just
it.
it, right? I know we're stuck because who's going to get up at these
He has
hours?
incredible job security right now,
Right.
simply because there's nobody else that wants to do the
Right.
job.
Right. I mean, there's a part of me that wants him to say, "Hey guys, I have another job." Then that would explain, why
Right.
he's asleep at the switch and all that. But he
Mhm.
doesn't.
No, I know. We talked about it yesterday for a good 20 minutes after the show.
It's unreal.
He sought out a little advice. I tried to give some.
He doesn't listen to us.
No.
Look at that. We're not even 40 minutes into the show. He's
Nope.
already missed something. All right. Let's start with the NFL, shall we?
Why not?
People pay attention when we do that. I mean, we're 86 and 93 days away from the start of the football season. 86 and 93 are the magic numbers, college and pro. The Rams make 31-year-old Aaron Donald the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. Well, that makes sense, right? If you were to ask the question, name the best player in the league that's not a quarterback,
He wins the award.
he'd be up there. I mean, maybe somebody would pick a wide receiver.
But he'd win.
So he was scheduled to make $55 million over the next 3 years. That's a little over $18 million a year. And he had 3 years left on his deal. And he said, listen, come on, I'm woefully underpaid. And the Rams said, you know what, you're right. And so they gave him a $40 million raise. I mean, who's bankrolling this team? The LIV Golf Series? Hello.
I just think the Rams have told us. And you and I were both guilty of it. You a little more guilty of it than me, but we were both guilty of, Well, the Saints are so far over the cap, I don't even know how they're going to field it. It doesn't matter. Just keep spending because somebody's in that room that can figure it out.
Yep. And eventually, yeah, there will come a year in which you've got 50, 60, 70, 100 million of dead cap money and all that. Whatever. Just keep kicking that can, baby. So did you hear the part about a $40 million raise? He'll now make $95 million over the next 3 years. 65 of it guaranteed over the next 2. He also gets a no trade clause. Aaron Donald's going to be making nearly $32 million a year. Nearly $2 million a game. I'm just saying. Jimmy G was told, hey, you don't have to come to minicamp. I'm going to say it again. You know, I think my trade idea, trade Baker for Jimmy G straight up. Straight up. This way Baker can back up Trey Lance.
Yeah, I don't know if Baker would want that trade. He's going to start in Cleveland.
No, he's not.
Okay.
But Deshaun Watson's not going to start in Cleveland. And yesterday, well, a 24th woman stepped forward with a civil lawsuit, and her allegations may be the most inflammatory of all the ones that we've heard. I don't necessarily want to go into the details, but what she's alleging on the inappropriate scale of 1 to 10, it's about a 23. This woman says that the events in question happened in October of 2020 and that she ended up quitting this as a career because of her interaction with Deshaun Watson. The Broncos reportedly are being sold to the Walmart heir for $4.5 billion. Reportedly. It's not official. And Romeo Crennel, been in the NFL 39 years, was head coach of 3 different teams. He retired yesterday. NHL, congratulations to the Avs of Colorado. The Avalanche beat Edmonton in overtime 6-5. They sweep the Oilers out of the Western Conference Finals, and the Avs will be playing for Lord Stanley's Cup for the first time since 2001. Arturi Lehkonen with the game-winning goal early in overtime. Avs were trailing 4-2 in the third before coming back to win. Colorado a perfect 7-0 on the road in the playoffs. And yet they'll have home ice advantage, no matter if it's the Rangers or the Lightning that they'll face in the Stanley Cup Finals in Game 4 of that series tonight in Tampa. Lightning are 5-1 at home in these playoffs, and the Rangers just 2-6 on the road in these playoffs. Lightning looking to even the series at 2. They're minus 175, Mark. Minus 175. Would you take the goal and a half that you will get with the Rangers? Hoping for a win or a 1-goal loss.
Right.
I think I'd take the 1.5. They're not giving up a lot of goals lately.
Empty netter comes in and teams pull
I
the
know.
goalie so early now.
I
That's
know.
why these are all a goal and a half. I'd probably lay it tonight.
Bruins fired head coach Bruce Cassidy yesterday in a shocker to the two of us. He took over midway through the 2017 season. He led the Bruins to the playoffs in all 6 of his seasons. Lost Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals back in 2019. He lost in 7 in the first round to Carolina. His top 2 defensemen had major surgery after the series. They're out for 6 months. His best forward had major surgery. He's out for 6 months. And his second best forward is contemplating retirement at the age of 36. And somehow they think the Bruins need a new voice? No, I don't think so. I think they need better players. Oh, yeah, and his number 1 goalie got hurt and retired. But it's Bruce Cassidy's fault? I digress. Golf, Phil Mickelson. He joins the LIV series. He released a statement saying, I'm going to play the LIV Tour in the majors. Reportedly, he's getting $200 million up front That doesn't include what he'll win by just playing because there's no cuts. Phil, in his statement, however, did talk about in the last 5 months, he's gone to see a therapist. I mean, it wasn't your average statement. I mean, the folks that are crushing Phil are continuing to crush Phil, but he even addressed his apology and how some people found it inadequate. And, I don't know. Now, granted, I'm a Phil guy, but I read the statement and I went, it seems like there's a human being that wrote this as opposed to like a PR firm.
Okay.
That's what I took out of the statement. I'm like, this looks like Phil wrote this and maybe his PR firm just touched it up as opposed to the other.
Or they hired somebody new at the PR firm that hasn't been there very long yet.
Well, then there's that. Baseball, Eduardo Escobar hit for the cycle for the Mets. They've been in business 60-plus years. Just the 11th Met to hit for the cycle. He had 6 RBIs. Mets have won 3 in a row. They beat the Padres 11-5. Mark, amazingly, the Angels have lost 12 in a row. And the Red Sox have won 5 straight. Michael Wacha with the 3-hit shutout. He threw 105 pitches. The game took 2 hours and 32 minutes. A lot of rarities that took place last night in Anaheim.
I'll tell you what, David, after watching some college baseball yesterday, that's on the expressway, that game. Because you are right about college baseball and the length time that played. The 3-hour pro game doesn't even bother me anymore after watching a college baseball game or two. Holy Toledo, are they long.
I mean, no joke here. College baseball is every bit as long as college football.
Maybe longer. And it's baseball.
Right. A lot of standing around in amongst the 3 hours and 40 minutes. Royals held to 2 hits. They lost. They're the worst team in the league. Toronto beat them 8-0. Benches cleared twice in the Seattle-Houston game. Mariners got a homer and 4 RBIs, and their catcher Cal Raleigh in a 7-4 win. Reds in 7 innings shut out Arizona 7-0, and Texas and Cleveland were postponed due to rain. They'll try to play a doubleheader today. A lot of college sports yesterday, however. You mentioned baseball. There were 11 regionals decided. 11 of the 16 spots in the super regionals decided yesterday. Oklahoma beat the Gators in Gainesville 5-4. Auburn, Louisville, East Carolina, Southern Miss, Oregon State, Ole Miss, North Carolina, UConn, Arkansas, and Stanford fill out the 11 programs that advanced to the super regionals yesterday.
I will tell you something. If college baseball ever wanted to become popular, and by doing what they did yesterday, they really don't, that would be on a weekend. And I know there are sites and regionals and all that, but to have 11 games, 11 berths to the super regionals decided on a Monday. These games all were played, many of them were played early afternoon.
Yes.
How do you draw any popularity for it when you have you've got to figure out a way to get these done on Sunday. You got to figure out a way to figure these tournaments out to be done on Sunday. And I know you got to win twice. I get it.
Well, the problem, though, is the rain that hit the Southeast. That's the reason that we had the day that we had yesterday. I mean, normally these are a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, that stinks because they have 11 of them on Monday was just that's tough.
College softball. UCLA beat Oklahoma, forcing a showdown game, which Oklahoma won in 5 innings, 15-0. The top-ranked Sooners have lost 3 of 60 games this year. And they will face, for the championship, Texas. Texas went to Oklahoma State and beat the Cowboys twice, including rallying from a 5-0 deficit in the second game to win 6-5. So that's right. Oklahoma and Texas, Mark, beginning tomorrow, will play a best of 3 for the College Softball National Championship.
And we're just a couple of years away from seeing great SEC games on the SEC network. This will be one of the features, Oklahoma and Texas.
No question. Texas, by the way, trying to become an unseeded national champion. They were not one of the top 16 seeds. They've lost 20 games this year. Oklahoma's lost 3. And one other college sports note. Florida State basketball landed Baba Miller, a 6'10" Spanish wing, who had narrowed it down to Gonzaga or Florida State. And Leonard Hamilton gets him.
Who says we don't have some good NIL things going on in Tallahassee?
Something's going on.
Because he's got to be getting paid.
Beating a Zag, beating Gonzaga for an international player? Wow, that's some recruiting. Way to go, Leonard. I would like to see Coach Ham get to a Final Four once.
Deserves it.
He's kind of like, he's becoming the 2020's Gene Cady, who never got to a Final Four. I mean, Leonard Hamilton's been in a few region finals with a few different programs. I think his best team was 2 years ago, got wiped out by the pandemic.
You called that team going to the Final Four in December or January of that year.
All over that team. Team got to the region final the year before, brought everybody back. And that, gentlemen, was...
That was the starting 5 every weekday morning at
Hey,
this
look at it, he hit it.
time on Miller and Moulton.
He was right on time there. Good job, Felipe.
1 out of 2 ain't bad.
What?
He is starting to find his little drop-ins that he throws in throughout the show, whether they're solicited or not. It's just his way. Listen, we have to put up with it, as we said.
There's no alternative.
A, and B, it keeps him awake.
Hold up.
Even if they don't fit.
Right.
Even if they're inappropriate, they don't apply.
He's trying to work out his timing.
Right. Because the show he's going to do in a couple of years on whatever station, whatever market. I mean, that's what Felipe's formulating in his mind right now. And this whole Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network thing, it's just getting in the way. 1 hour down. Bob Harig next hour.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Mark, we're playing golf.
Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up now.
I'd like to thank Budweiser, Twin Peaks, and Southwest Florida Golf Carts. Got some good stuff there, flgolfcarts.com.
Where are you going to go? floridasportsnetwork.com. Sign up for our tournament Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Your golf will include your foursome and a chance to have lunch and awards after.
Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com. David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, Are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
David, lots of stuff today. This was a big one today, David.
Okay.
Today was a day win. Lots of stuff. In fact, it was getting bothersome. I will say, because like I said, I like the way you did that. If you look at the bottom line there, David, that's how I've got those classified now. Birthday's dead. I don't know if you caught, I guess yesterday during the pregame media availability, Buck Showalter asked Keith Hernandez if he ever played outfield.
I actually read it. Yeah, they were talking about something, and I think wanting to play somebody different in the outfield who normally, I don't know if it's putting Alonso in the outfield or whatever. And so he was talking about, hey, it's not as easy as you think, blah, blah, blah. And so finally, he just turns and he goes, Keith, do you ever play like left field at all with the Cardinals? And Keith goes, yeah, a couple times. And Buck was like, really? Okay. St. Louis? He goes, yeah. Summer? Hot? Turf? Yeah. Okay. And then it got Buck like telling a couple of quick stories.
That's cool.
Showalter goes, man, somehow, some way he took like the long walk from left field to the first base dugout in St. Louis when it's hot in the turf. And he said, one time I was managing, I got ejected in San Francisco. And remember, you had the lockers that he goes, you had the walk of shame out down the right field line. He goes, I was so angry at the umpires. He goes, I was walking like this. All right. They were yelling at me. I was yelling back. Look at this. Yeah, I think it was on Sunday, fam. They had 12,000. Can I go football here?
Yeah. Okay. You can always go football, David.
Okay. I thought so.
Deshaun?
No, not yet.
10 seconds.
All right. Not yet.
Okay.
We'll have some fun.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this first Tuesday of June. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. 93 days away from the start of the NFL season. 86 days away from the start of the college football season. If you're counting that week 0 Saturday, 81 days away from that. Huh?
81 days.
So
81. Yes, because there's actually the Nebraska Northwestern game's actually a good enough game for me to say, yeah. Like, you're not going to watch that game.
I'll probably watch a little bit, although it's in Dublin.
So?
Well, just saying the time difference, that's all. I'll just have to make an adjustment probably. But yeah, I'll probably sample it. I will. But that's okay. I mean, occasionally while flipping through the channels, I'll end up seeing 3 minutes of a preseason NFL game. They don't count.
I got you there, but this one counts. That week 0 actually counts, and there's a game.
I understand, but do we really think that either Nebraska or Northwestern are going to count this year, if you know what I mean?
Hey, it's one of the last years that they could count. When they get rid of divisions in the Big Ten,
right.
We know for certain that this game won't matter.
So there you have it, 81, 86, 93. Those are the magic numbers as to when the football season gets underway. Mark, and speaking of football, for those just joining us, you may have missed the news yesterday. The Rams gave Aaron Donald a $40 million raise. Spread out over 3 years. Instead of making $55 million over the next 3 years, he's going to make $95 million, nearly $32 a year. The highest paid non-quarterback in the league. And I think all of us, and I mean you and I, it's part of our jobs. We try really hard to pay attention, to understand the salary cap. I saved this because I knew we were going to need it. And it was just a few days ago. As of June 2nd, this is how much money teams had left under the salary cap for this year. Now, remember, a lot of them still haven't signed their draft picks. The Rams, Mark, had the third lowest amount of salary cap room in the league as of 5 days ago.
Okay.
$5.3 million. Now, granted, they don't have a lot of draft picks, so I don't know if all their draft picks are already signed and factored in, but remember, they didn't have a first. I don't think they had a second. So, they're not going to spend a whole lot of money on draft picks. But it is remarkable. You have $5.3 million left in cap space. And yet you just gave arguably your best player. You just gave him a $14 million annual raise. And the first thing that many of us think about is, how can the Rams afford this? How can you do this? It's why the NFL salary cap put it this way. For those of us that are hockey fans, that league's cap is a hard cap. The NFL cap is like the NBA cap. It ain't a hard cap, man.
It's supposed to be, though. I mean, that's the difference, is that it is supposed to be a hard cap.
By the way, the team with the most amount of cap room as of 5 days ago, want to take a guess?
Still the Browns?
Yeah. $40 million they have in cap room. Now, obviously, I don't know, what draft picks they have signed, what they don't, and I'm trying to think, did they re-sign Clowney and you take $11 million off that, or is this list $40.9 million after they brought Clowney back into the fold? But either way, they had $16 million more than anybody else. And remember, this is carrying Baker Mayfield. This is with Baker Mayfield counting against the cap. And he's going to count against the cap no matter what.
But Deshaun really doesn't. So you have to, when you look at Baker, you just say that's their quarterback salary for this year. It's $18 million or whatever it is. You got Deshaun at $1 million against the cap. It's really
Well, but that's 1 million salary, but that's not his cap figure. His cap.
That's right. His cap figure.
But his salary for this year, like if he were to be suspended for this year, he would lose $1 million. But his cap figure is more than that. But to me, it's why, we brought up the idea last week of, if you're the Niners and the Browns here, do you get rid of each other's quarterback problem? Do you trade Garoppolo for Baker Mayfield? Because we don't believe that Cleveland will turn to Baker again and say, hey, rescue us, even if Deshaun's suspended for the year. But we think that they would turn to a Jimmy Garoppolo if that was the case. And that Garoppolo would be like, yeah, okay, that's fine. And I'll use it as the year to go and get a big salary from somebody else and down the road. Well, think about it. Garoppolo's making about $6 million more a year than Baker Mayfield. Well, obviously the Browns can afford it. New England Patriots with the least amount of cap room, $1 million. And once again, I don't know if that, includes signing their draft picks or not. But I mean, clearly the Patriots don't have any money right now. But then again, the Rams had the third lowest amount either, and they just gave Aaron Donald a $14 million annual raise.
Once again, I'll go back to what I said last hour. I don't think it's that necessary anymore to spend a lot of time worrying about the cap because, one, it's too damn hard to understand. Two, it doesn't seem to matter if a team's up against it because the Rams are proving, the Saints proved, many of these teams figure out every year how to get through with the cap.
Now, the Dolphins, for the record, have the 9th most amount of cap room, at least as of 5 days ago. That's $16.5 million. So you would think if you're the Dolphins, you could still buy some more toys, right? Tampa Bay, by the way, $12.2 million in cap room. Now, I think since this list came out, they signed Akeem Hicks.
Yeah, I have him at like 10.6.
Okay. And the list I have had him at 12.2. But once again, I mean, does it matter really?
I don't think it does.
With apparently the way you can manipulate this sucker. I mean, at some point in time, the Saints, while we think they have a good roster and shape up to have a good team this year, but I mean, they did have to let 4 or 5 guys go. I mean, they had to finagle $75 million just to get to the cap line to do business in mid-March.
That's the time that it's necessary. That's when you pay attention. What are they doing for the March hit when they've got it, when the new year starts of the league so that they can get to the number? Because then it seems seemingly after that, it's a lot easier to kick the can down the road, apparently, David.
But, the Raiders have gone out. They spent some money, right? They signed Carr to an extension at 40 and change. They went out and got the wide receiver and gave him $28+ million. Yeah. According to this, the Raiders have the third most amount of cap room at 22 and change left. The Cowboys have been crying poverty, right? Been making these moves. So you couldn't afford to keep this guy, lost this guy. They got the 4th most amount of cap room, according to the lists. Now, I know you can use it up. You can sign certain people to extensions, and you can put some of the money in this year, and you can tie it all up. They had a bunch of draft picks. I get it. Also, you can save money. Money can be transferred over. If you're like $16 million under the cap one year, that money can be pushed towards the next. So there's some strategy involved here. But it is fascinating. Some of the teams that have signed the biggest deals this offseason, you look, and they still have a ton of cap room left.
Which the Bucs yesterday, in comments made, said, well, they think that Gronk will be there, just for the money. They think when camp comes that Gronk will be there and they'll be able to work this out. Well, financially, they can.
Yeah, I guess. So that's why it's so hard for us as fans, for those of us in the media, to talk about a team and cap space and cap room, because there just seems to be a way to just play the shell game constantly with it.
Well, they've taken a page out of a government playbook. Just Move it down the road. Someone else will pay for it, David.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the 2027 Rams are really going to be screwed. I guess. But I also know in about a year here that the new network TV deal kicks in and the cap's going to go up like $40 million. I'm telling you, Pat's not going to like it, but I think the Rams are going to win. Selling off draft picks for proven players and then signing them to big deals and what have you.
Sounds like the transfer portal.
Yeah.
You mean it's a lot easier to look at an NFL player and see what he's done on tape and how it compares to the NFL,
right,
as opposed to drafting someone who was playing at a lesser level,
right,
to see how that's going to translate to the higher level.
Correct.
I don't know. It sounds a hell of a lot like the transfer portal.
I mean, call me crazy, but 40% of the first round picks don't have their option contracts picked up. So I can trade said pick for a proven player who I know is good enough that I'm going to pick up all his options. And that's a bad move? Why?
And if I really want first-round picks, they're going to be released every year. 60% of the first-round picks are going to be released in 4 years that I could take a shot on if I thought someone fits my system better.
So the Rams, with no cap room, give Aaron Donald a $13 or $14 million raise yesterday for 3 years, 2 of which fully guaranteed. And they have to redo Cooper Kupp. His deal's coming up. And he has said, listen, I'm not going to hold your ransom or anything, but I'm kind of underpaid. And they're like, oh, no, you're very underpaid. You're next on the list. And they still want to bring Odell back. And they have no money.
It's all right. That's all right. They'll figure out a way. It's just a shell game, David. You hit the nail on the head. You just keep kicking the can down the road and worry about it later.
It does help when you have the richest owner in the league.
Never hurts.
Remember, he did pay for that stadium all by himself. Miller and Moulton. Bob Harig in 25 minutes to talk Phil and company playing the LIV Tour. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Oh,
Want to talk to Sean here?
well, we could continue just a more general thing on caps if it's a smaller segment, because I think Deshaun's got a lot more meat on the bone.
Okay.
But we can get to it. I think a pretty good text here.
Okay, good. Let's do that because this is a short segment.
I'll tell you what, thank God you got a lot of miles, because as expensive as everything is to travel, it ain't cheap to fucking pay for anything in miles anymore, David.
Nope.
Not unless you're booking 6-8 months out.
I booked these 3 to 4 months out, which helped. I guess Dustin. So they're crawling there. The DJ also.
Yeah, resigned. I saw that.
Come back.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bob Harig, who recently authored a book about Tiger and Phil and golf's most fascinating rivalry. He's in London covering the LIV Series inaugural event, and he talked to Phil Mickelson late yesterday. And he will join us in less than 20 minutes. Bob Harig will of Sports Illustrated here on Miller and Moulton.
If you want to text the show, text the keyword FSN Radio to 21,000, FSN Radio to 21,000. Once you've done that, you can text as much or as little as you would like. We got this text. Get rid of the cap. The NHL is a hard cap, except when they utilize the IR, which has become popular recently. So no cap in the NHL playoffs. All sports have their caps loopholes. I'd be fine with no cap in any sports.
Yeah, it's called baseball.
We love a cap. Even though the NFL cap is hard to figure out. I don't think we could handle football and basketball and hockey without caps. I mean, handle it, yes, but I don't think we'd like it as much.
Well, I mean, especially for a young fan, research what the NFL was like pre the Cowboys' early 90s dynasty. Because that dynasty broke up in part, a small part, bigger part, because Jerry was stupid enough to fire Jimmy. But I mean, that they were in the middle of their dynasty when the cap came into the league. I mean, I think the first year of cap ramifications was 93. And the Cowboys had just won their first of what would be 3 titles in 4 seasons. So think about what the NFL was like 60s, 70s, 80s. And then as the Cowboys were able to put their dynasty together, then the cap came in and then they had to start managing these salaries. But, you know, what did we have, Mark? We had super teams. We had dynasties.
And we also had bad teams.
Yeah.
But people do like dynasties. So you could argue this both ways, but I think the fan wants a shot. And without a cap, I don't think a lot of fan bases think they have a shot.
I agree. Even though what the NFL didn't have for the longest time, which came into effect in a full way with the cap, was free agency. So you got both. Yeah, everybody had to play by the same financial rules, which was not always the case. I mean, Eddie DeBartolo and the Niners spent more money on their personnel than anyone else in the league did in the 80s, on and off the field. I mean, they spoiled their players. That was his thing. He loved doing that. Now, if you do things like that, they count it against the cap. And that's why teams don't do it. But also, DeBartolo and the Niners paid top dollar.
And many teams in many sports got away with that. That was, I mean, you could simply the Yankees did it in baseball. I mean, even my Red Wings did it in hockey. They were great before the cap. They spent more than anybody else. Cap came in, they ran into more problems.
Yeah, because they had a bunch of good players, and now they had to figure out how do we get them into a cap. Uh-oh, this is hard. But
you think we'd be comfortable without salary caps in the other 3 sports?
No, I think you're right. Fans like a cap. Look at what's going on in baseball right now. No cap. What did we talk about yesterday at great length? You don't have parity. You don't have anything close to parity. You don't have competitive balance. And this ain't a one-year thing either, what we got going on in baseball. You got 13 teams above 500 right now. 13.
You have far more tanking going on in baseball than you do in the NBA.
And if it's not tanking, it's at least not competitive. Because you could spend $120 million on your roster. Yeah, it's great. We're competing against teams that are spending 50 to 100+% more than that.
But I thought it was interesting text because I've not seen too many people that have come to the response of, I don't think we should have caps in any sports. I've not heard a lot of that recently.
Well, I mean, that's what the Baseball Players Association feels. I mean, they are adamant to not have a cap, and they think some of the deals they've signed recently have, and they're not even close to a cap, but they've pinned themselves in.
But we thought with baseball that the cap would have actually helped the sport and the union because it would have put the floor in.
Right. It's the part of the cap that never gets talked about. Like in the NFL, yeah, there's a cap, but there's also a floor. You have to spend, I think it's 80 or 85% of the cap
Now, because you can manipulate the salary cap, you can
Correct.
have less than that in a year's payroll and just work it out a little differently.
And you could spend less one year, but then spend a little bit more the next to make up for it. I mean, they've got ways around it. I mean, just like you can have a cap hit of $200 million, yet only be laying out about $160 million in cash, you can also do it the other way. You can have a $200 million cap hit in which you're laying out about $260 million in cash. But, you just got your accountant to fudge the numbers in a certain way. The Saints-Rams way.
But ultimately, David, do you think the Rams way is going to win out?
I think more and more teams are going to go the Rams route. I think they're going to see that it's a lot easier to game the system than we thought. I mean, clearly the Saints and the Rams are gaming the system. The Saints have had what? 5 consecutive winning seasons? The Rams, ever since they moved, I mean, outside of the first year that they moved, they've been all in. They haven't had a losing season.
The Jeff Fisher year.
Right.
That was for you.
I know. Thank you. But in their last 5 years, they've been all in. They've had 5 straight winning seasons. They've gone to the playoffs 4 times. They've gone to 2 Super Bowls. They've won 1.
Tough to argue that doesn't work.
Now, you have to have ownership that's willing to spend money, though. I mean, the way to get around it is you turn salaries into signing bonuses. That's cash that comes out of your account. The cap hit may be the same or less, but you're actually spending more. You have to have an owner willing to do that. The Chiefs' ownership is willing to do that. They've structured all these contracts with their marquee players as they can then take.
Well, the Glazers have done it.
Yes.
Finally. I mean, for the Tampa fan listening right now, they're probably going, guys, hey, hello. We spent a decade not doing that around here.
But if you think about it, it's the only sport in which you can do that. Can't do that in basketball. Can't do it in hockey. Can't even do it in baseball, believe it or not. In which you just turn a salary into an upfront signing bonus and you reduce the $20 million salary down to $1 million, but then you write the check for the $19 million and go, here you go. You're going to get paid the same amount of money this year. You're just getting all of it up front. Thanks for helping us against the cap. Hey, no problem. Don't mind me. I'm going to go cash this right now. I think the Rams way is going to slowly begin to win out. Not the majority, because I don't think, Mark, you're going to have 17 to 20 owners that are going to spend as liberally as Kroenke and the Rams are. But, I mean, they are showing you, the Saints and the Rams are showing you, hey, there's a way to compete.
And we had talked about salary cap's position. We got a text that said salary, what about in the NFL doing it by position? If they're not going to do it for the quarterback or remove the quarterback, and it looks like they found too many ways around it, that's not going to happen. David and I talked about that many times, talked to Pat about it, and basically throwing the quarterbacks out of the cap. But doesn't seem to have any momentum anywhere other than the occasional sports talk show. Why would the owners do it? It would have them spending more money. Why would they agree to that? Miller and Moulton. Bob Harig is waiting for us from London. He interviewed Phil Mickelson yesterday. We'll talk to Bob next. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening, Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, Only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
The way
He's got the
combed
wave. Oh, yeah.
over, and it matched the wave in the Avs logo, which somebody was sitting right behind the bench.
Same as it ever was.
He's even hunched over.
Look. He's had that suit forever. Look at that. You got to wear a black shirt with that or something. You can't wear a white shirt with that suit, David.
No, you can't.
You can't wear that suit. Let's start with that.
The one thing I will say to the Avs, and they're going to score goals against anybody, but they are going to face much better goaltending in the finals than what they have faced out west. I mean, they got the Predators backup goalie.
Yep.
Bennington got hurt early in game 3. They played Mike Smith.
They're in the over 40 league for
Right.
the final.
Okay, I mean, they're getting a lot better goaltending in the finals.
Wow.
I'm telling you, I think these guys are ending their membership with the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I think you're right. Now, when you said that, I'm like kind of pissed at myself. I'm like, that's why they're doing it. They think it's their legal way out. But I mean, it was interesting that Mickelson, is not going to. He's got a lifetime membership that,
Yep. Notice it. They said he tells SI, I'm under the understanding that I can play. Yes. Tells our next guest. Mike Smith, as in the Oilers goalie? I don't think so. How you holding up?
Needed to walk around.
DC, we will ask something to that effect. Sure. I text Bob. He's awaiting our call.
Oh, we've got a lot of votes on this. 51 votes already for us. That's a lot of votes in the first hour that a poll question's been up.
What's the percentage?
37 support it, 63 don't. Say they're sellouts.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. You can text us if you haven't before. Text FSN Radio, all one word, FSN Radio to 21,000, 21000, and give us your thoughts. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com, vote in our poll question. All right, Phil, DJ, and others made the decision, play in the LIV Golf Series. Do you support them? Yeah, I do. No, they're sellouts. Right now, sellouts winning 63 to 37%. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com and vote. Bob Harig covers golf for a living for Sports Illustrated, recent author of the book Tiger and Phil, Golf's Most Fascinating Rivalry. Bob is in London covering the first ever LIV golf event, and he talked to Phil Mickelson late yesterday. First interview, in fact, Phil did, was with Bob. You can follow Bob on Twitter at Bob Harig, Harig. Bob, it's David and Mark once again. Thanks for your time. How are you?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Well, we are doing fine. Thanks so much for agreeing to do this. So, how was Phil yesterday? What was his demeanor?
Well, I'd say he was a bit more upbeat than I expected, and prepared to answer all the questions. But might not have liked all of his answers, but I actually thought he gave some pretty good answers. You know, he delved into the gambling stuff. He didn't shy away from that topic. He didn't shy away from the topic of if he was doing this because he needed the money. You know, he acknowledged that he made a lot of mistakes several months ago in the way he handled this. You know, he tried to be conciliatory and not defiant at all, you know. So I think I probably had him for 20 minutes, which was, you know, it kind of came together in a hurry. I was on my way over here actually, and you know, he agreed to talk to me, which was great, obviously. And you know, I wish I had more time. I wish I could have delved into some things a little bit more. You know, it really sort of scratched the surface. You know, I did ask him about the Saudi involvement, and which is sort of, to be honest, it's the elephant in the room with this thing. It's wherever you are on the subject of the rival golf tour, that the funding is certainly an easy mark for someone who is dead against it. And you know, the way the guys answer that question, you know, it's awkward. Let's be honest, it's awkward. And so you know, he's said what he said on that, and you know, it looks like he is at least looking forward to getting back to golf and you know, probably playing the U.S. Open next week as well.
Bob, while it looks as if, you know, Kevin Na resigned from the tour, there are reports that DJ has also resigned from the tour. Phil was adamant that he's not resigning from the tour, correct?
That's correct. I mean, he feels that his lifetime membership, which, by the way, Dustin Johnson was only a few months away from obtaining. He's in his 15th year on tour, which is one of the minimums. You know, I don't feel if people have talked to someone or if they think that you know, bolsters his case for some reason, and why he's not giving it up. I think part of the reason some of these guys have given it up is they see it as a way to avoid a suspension, and avoiding a suspension from the PGA Tour means that the golf organizing bodies that run the majors can't say, well, we're going to honor that suspension. Well, if you're not a member of the tour, you can't be suspended. So it's very, very, very fascinating time we're dealing with right now in professional golf.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the last time there was something even remotely this interesting, you got to go to Jack and Arnie in the late 60s when they basically broke away and formed what is now the PGA Tour. Bob Harig, who covers golf for Sports Illustrated, is kind enough to join us from London. You can follow him on Twitter at Bob Harig, Harig. Did you ask Phil, or did he discuss basically when he made the decision he has now made in these last 5+ months? I know he talked about getting therapy. I'm wondering, when did he decide, okay, I'm going to do this, as opposed to going back and trying to salvage everything that he could have salvaged potentially with the PGA Tour and the broadcast networks, etc.?
I did not ask him that specifically, but I think you can read between the lines and sort of guess that I don't think he had much intention of going back. You know, I asked him if he talked to Jay Monahan. He suggested that he hadn't. To me, that would have been the first step to going back. Wouldn't you at least have that conversation and just explore that path? I think the reason that it was late to be announced was he might have been negotiating. You know, LIV Golf found itself in a bit of a precarious spot here. I mean, they were ready in February to announce a roster of big name players, at least several big name players that were going to help them launch their league this year. And you know, that all sort of you know, got blown up when Phil said what he said, and there was a lot of pushback, and they had to pivot. They had to pivot to this series of tournaments this year and scramble to, you know, to stay alive, basically. And, you know, I think they felt like they needed as many big names as they could get. So, you know, I kind of get the sense that Phil was never out. It's just a matter of, he needed to probably straighten some things out and then decide he was going to do it.
All right. The LIV Tour, they kick off with this scramble. There's team captains. There are multiple events. Bob, they don't have a television partner in the U.S. How do they think that they can gain popularity here if they can't get coverage for it here?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, and it's an important one. It's not necessarily a given that they won't have it at some point, you know, and they're going to push that it's going to be streamed on their website and on Facebook and on YouTube. Obviously, that's not the same thing as having a network or even a cable outlet on linear TV. And, you know, that's the thing they're going to have to really fight, because I think this week there might be some interest, some, you know, curiosity. People might tune in just to see what it looks like. Maybe they'll do that again for the first domestic event, which is at the end of this month, or, you know, actually the first week of July. But, you know, if it's hard to find, and you can't get it easily, it's going to discourage people. And if the product isn't all that compelling, it's basically, let's be honest, going to be a series of exhibitions. And I'm not sure that team format is going to take hold right away because the teams are going to change at every tournament. The original idea was to have 12 four-man teams that were locked in as part of it. Still play for the individual first, but then have the team thing. And that they won't be able to do that because they're not going to have the same guys in every event. So that to me is a little disjointed and it might be a little bit awkward. I'm kind of curious to see how that works. And to be honest, that part of the equation isn't that lucrative. I guess it's all relative, but the winning team is going to get $5 million $3 million. And then it's $1.5 million to the second place team and $500,000 to the third place team. So only 3 teams get paid. Now, if you're in those top 3, that's, a nice little extra bonus, but the big money is really playing for the individual title every week, $4 million to the winner and, $120,000 for finishing dead last and everything in between. It's a pretty, there's a lot of money to be won in these things, which is obviously a big draw.
Bob Harig, Sports Illustrated, author of the book that's been out for a couple months, Tiger and Phil, Golf's Most Fascinating Rivalry. Follow Bob on Twitter at Bob Harig. Bob, how many on tour, as best you can tell, do you think are waiting in the wings and just want to see either A, what the penalties are going to be, B, is it really as much money as I'm hearing? I mean, how many, Phil's friends with a lot of guys, DJ's friends with a few. I mean, how many guys do you think on tour are sitting back and maybe in the next 2, 3, 5 weeks will go, screw it, I'm in?
I don't know how many will do it, but I can assure you that there's probably a couple dozen at least who are looking hard at it and wondering how this is going to go. This is a lot of money. I was doing the math, and if you finished 48th at the Memorial on Sunday, I believe that was worth about $32,000 or $33,000. Now that's an elevated event too. That is a $12 million purse. Most tournaments have in the $7 to $8 million range. So most tournaments are less than that. But just compare that to this: $32,000 for finishing 48th. You have to make the cut. 65 and ties make the cut, so you're pretty much having to beat 15 to 20 guys at least. Obviously, make the cut too. Here, you get $120,000 for finishing 48th. Don't have to beat anybody. Now, is that the true spirit of competition? Probably not. And I'm sure no guy wants to finish last. He's going to do everything he can to finish as high as he can. But, when you're grinding out there and you're trying to play your butt off, even just to finish 40th, and you're having to make the cut on the number on a Friday and sweating it out, and, maybe things aren't going that great, and you squeak in there and you make $30,000. Well, then you look over here and see these guys making this kind of money, possibly. It's just bound to get their attention. And, Tiger made the great comments at the PGA a few weeks ago about playing for legacy, and his legacy is on the PGA Tour. But do all these guys care about it? I mean, we focus on the top guys in golf, the 10, 15, 20 guys who are up there in the rankings and the guys who break through to win majors. But, there's 100 guys that we never talk about who go week to week and are battling just to make it, just to get by. And something like this is going to be appealing to them. So, and if they were to have any success out here, they'd make a lot of money and maybe get some confidence. So, that's why I just think, there's been a lot of negativity around this. I get it. A lot of people pushing back, and these guys are sellouts, or, they're playing for blood money, all that stuff. The bottom line is I really think there's a lot more people interested than have let on. And these guys like Phil and Dustin Johnson have really had to stick their neck out and take the brunt of it.
Bob, from the golf fans that I talk to and basically my core of friends at the club I belong to, and they watch golf, they're all older than I am. I've not heard any of them talk blood money. I've not heard any of them talk about selling out. All I've heard them talk about is, well, I like the PGA Tour. I like watching these events. It just seems to me that people don't like change for sake of change. So I don't know. Are you getting any sentiment from the golf fan? I get what the golf media is and the blood money, and I get all of that, and I've read all the articles. But are you getting the same sense from the golf fan that they have the same animosity towards this tour, or they just don't care about this tour?
Well, the most vehement animosity is due to the funding. But I always remind people, if you took that out of the equation, and it were Bill Gates or Mark Cuban putting up the money, a billionaire who could afford to do this, I think there'd be a similar amount of angst. It might not be, it obviously wouldn't be political like that has become, but it would be, why do you want to turn your back on what's been such a great thing? That's where your record is made. Look at all that they do for charity. Look at this, look at that. And you would have some of the same arguments that you have now. You're going to dilute the product if you have a bunch of guys go over to a different one. And, their whole purpose, the Premier Golf League, which kind of started this and which has not gotten off the ground and which is now wanting to be part of the PGA Tour, their whole thing was that the top guys don't come together enough. We want to play tournaments with, a majority of 48 players being the top guys in the world. Pretty good, high ambition there, and pulling that off is not easy. But that was their goal. That we're nowhere close to that with this, and yet they've managed to pick off a couple of guys.
Bob, we're up against it. I really appreciate you making time for us once again. Good luck the rest of this week and safe travels. Bob Harig, Sports Illustrated, joining us from London. Pat Kirwan's next.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts, flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Mark, we're playing golf.
Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up now.
I'd like to thank Budweiser, Twin Peaks, and Southwest Florida Golf Carts. Got some good stuff there, flgolfcarts.com.
Where are you going to go? floridasportsnetwork.com. Sign up for our tournament, Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Your golf will include your foursome and a chance to have lunch and awards after.
Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfCarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfCarts.com. FLGolfCarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
There were some spectacular catches. Yeah, they ran a little montage of the catches from the games yesterday. There were like 5 great grabs between 5 or 6 college games. They probably should be all over this thing. What was so good about that? Ooh. A little heat on this one.
Yeah.
That kid's got an arm. And that stings. I don't care what you say. You catch a ball like that off your bare hand, that's a stinger.
Mm-hmm.
That shot by Ramirez stung for about 30 minutes when we were on the air that I tried to catch and missed. There you got a little look behind there if you saw the outfield. That's where they all. And Jake said they got one area that's a parking lot that people don't go to games. Yeah.
And I figure with Pat, if we got something going.
Yeah.
By the way, I thanked Bob and I said, hey, sorry about cutting you off there a little bit, blah, blah, blah. And he gave us 2 thumbs. That was a good get.
It's a great get. He just interviewed Phil. I don't know if there's a better get you can get in golf.
Just,
I was going to joke with him and say, Bob, at the rate you've been coming on, we're going to have to start paying you for this. But
I did not see the.
They don't have camera angles. That's the problem, DC. I mean, I didn't see it, but they had one in the East Carolina game I was watching. I'm like, man, this is tough on these umpires because there's not a lot of looks at these plays. That one happened to be pretty easy that I saw, but and Michigan lost, so it all worked out for the better.
Although you had to be torn, didn't they lose to North Carolina?
No, they lost to Louisville.
Oh, okay.
North Carolina played Georgia. It is brown chicken. Yeah, I crushed that me hitting tee shots really quickly.
I saw that.
Get an assistant pro to do that.
No, I agree.
I can't. There'll be 20 guys that hit it past me in this thing.
Okay.
He's such a dink.
Yes, he is.
Yes. You are very right, DC.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Beginning hour 3 of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. Thanks so much for being with us. 86 days away from the start of the college football season, 93 days away from the Bills and the Rams kicking off the 2022 NFL season. And Pat Kirwan is kind enough to join us once again. He works for NFL Radio weekday afternoons 3 to 7. The show is called Moving the Chains with his co-host Jim Miller. Pat joins us throughout the NFL year, well, throughout the year nowadays, courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. How are you this week?
I'm doing quite well, and there's lots of storylines, as always, in the National Football League. It never seems to go away. And we're in the middle of evaluating everyone's running backs rooms, and we're going to start the receivers on Thursday. So we're plowing through, and that'll take us to the end of the offense, and then we'll get to the defense and hopefully finish up before we get on a camp tour.
Pat, how much, when you get everything done, and I know you do all these rankings, and then you'll do the offenses, the defenses, and then the teams, but from a running back standpoint, I know it's important. How much has this changed in your evaluation of this since you started doing this? Because as you mentioned, a lot of running back by committee now, not many teams going with one back, and just how much less important the running back position has become in the league.
Well, I don't know if it's less important, but I agree with the committee part of it. And so when I'm looking at them, the best teams, the teams that will be ranked the highest mark are the guys that have 3 running backs. And you use Cleveland as an example. Dearness Johnson's their 3rd running back, and that makes them deep. They can incur injury and survive. They can specialize and get guys to be situational players, whether it's a 3rd down back or sometimes there's a 2-minute back. So I think all these coaches like to be able to develop their situational offenses. And you really need 3 running backs. Whether you're a passing team or not, you're still going to have to pass block. You're going to have to throw to the back. We've had a couple teams that have had over 140 receptions for the running backs alone. So it's interesting, but you still have to have running backs in. And some of the teams, quite honestly, surprise me. They'll have 2 good backs, and then they'll have no one else. So they're one injury away from a back being forced to be the bell cow back the old days with 25 touches, 28 touches, and that inevitably gets him injured. Like I have the 2 backs in Dallas, but after Pollard, there's nobody there, and I guess they think they'll just have to go sign one. Baltimore last year lost all those running backs. They landed up signing, at the end of the day, 4 more running backs. The free agent list seems to always have a couple extra old backs around that could give you 8 to 10 touches. So there's a lot of things going on, but you'd be amazed. Dallas spends $24 million of their cap space on running backs. But a lot of teams are spending 9-10, to your point, and they're just not prioritizing it financially.
Well, before we move on to another topic, then how does the Dolphins running back room shape up?
Deep. There's a team. Gaskins is right now sitting in the 4th spot, and that guy caught 49 passes. So last year he carried the mail for them. Now he's sitting. That's the best. He'll be the 3rd, but most likely the 4th. And Ahmed is the 5th. So they got 5 back. They kept 5 last year. They'll keep 5 this year. They can weather the storm of injury, and so they're not bad.
All right, back to my favorite topic, the Rams. Are they in the salary cap world beginning to operate the way the Niners did in the 80s, in which they're seemingly trying to be like the place that stars want to go? We're going to pay you better than everybody else. We're going to treat you better than everybody else. And as of right now, Pat, they're able to manage this, and it's working. We've talked about this phenomenon of the Rams, but they do seem to be taking it, to a higher level every other month.
Well, I recommend you look at the dead money on all these contracts. So there's a reality check coming up sooner or later, and we've already seen it. They couldn't afford Von Miller. They like to talk about bringing Odell Beckham back, but they may not be able to do that. But here's what happens when 3 players consume 40% of your cap. It's perfect, and that's a good off formula if no one gets hurt. But in their world, because there's no young stars being developed behind these guys, you have to start worrying about injuries. And I counted about 12 of these guys just the other day that the dead money is at the very least 15 million, but there's a lot of them 50 million, 38 million, 63 million. So two things go on that you can't control. You can't control injuries and you can't control age. And so when you start paying guys, even Aaron Donald, his contract goes to at least 35. Okay, we all know there's a parachute after 2 years, but they're going to pay $65 million for the next 2 years and then let him go if he feels like, going somewhere else. I mean, I don't know how that's really going to work, but there's dead money in that contract, and there's going to be dead money in a lot of these contracts. So sooner or later, you'll start seeing injury or age. And thank goodness for them financially that Andrew Whitworth retired. But we'll find out if Moulton can hold up to the standard that Andrew gave him. So we'll see how it goes. They won one Super Bowl, which I give them a lot of credit for. But continue down that road without draft picks, good luck.
Well, Pat, I get you on the draft pick, kinda, because we all know what a crapshoot the draft is. But when you talk about the dead money, Pat, we sit here and we start before the cap. We looked at what New Orleans was. It's how are they even going to have a roster? It looks like. Pat, is it something that the fans should really spend no time worrying about? Let these experts worry about it because this dead money, you said sooner or later. It seems like it's just later every time.
No, Drew Brees retired. Now you're not paying Jameis Winston very much money. So you've got to see in New Orleans, can Jameis Winston win? And when he does win on these short-term contracts, he's going to want to get paid too. It just comes down to that all the time. Now, I've managed the cap for multiple years. It is a tricky business if you don't have entry wage guys on a 53-man roster.
I don't know how to ask you about Deshaun Watson without almost wanting to just say, Deshaun Watson, so are the days of our lives, and leave it open-ended. But, I mean, Pat, the Browns can't have second thoughts about this. I mean, the contract's $46 million a year, fully guaranteed. But Pat, this story's not getting better. And the Browns, when they signed him, all but publicly said, hey, we've done our investigation. The worst stuff's out there. We're going to be able to move on and move through this. No.
Yeah, I don't mind talking about it at all because I have not read the fine print of this contract, and everything that they did was based on 22 people, right? They claim they knew. This is why when the league says we're almost done with our investigation, are you kidding me? That investigation is going to explode, and it just did explode, and it's going to explode again. Are we sure 24 is the absolute highest number? There might be 25, 26, because when that contract got done, all of a sudden some other people had the courage to come forward. And so I don't think the league is near done understanding what they're going to do. And it seems to me like they're in a bunker right now trying to figure out, well, maybe we do have to get them on the exempt list. Maybe we do have to initiate a suspension. I said last week on the show, this could be a 2-level punishment. A punishment based on what we know now, and if any more stuff comes up, maybe even more punishment. So I've said a couple times, I've seen the commissioner put guys on suspensions that are open-ended, where it's not a 1 year, it's 1 year, and then will be reviewed again. So he's already had some concepts that are 2-level, and I think with this situation, it's going to be a 2-level deal sooner or later. Everyone laughed at me 3 months ago, and I said, Baker Mayfield still may be the quarterback for the Browns. They said, you're out of your mind. Oh, am I still out of my mind?
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you, Pat. Who's the week 1 starter for the Cleveland Browns?
I would think it might be Jacoby Brissett. I don't know. Baker needs to play. He's owned by the Browns. And if they say, you're our quarterback, get back here, he can't turn them down. Then he could stop payment on $18 million. They might enjoy him trying to be stubborn about it. So if they need him, they can call him back. And if he was smart, he'd show up for practice right now and drive them crazy.
Pat, and I don't know how much you paid attention to what went on in baseball in the last year with the pitcher for the Dodgers and what they basically did with him. And we may have to carry this over to the next segment. Are you okay with that?
I'm fine.
Okay.
It's one of the biggest stories in the league right now.
All right. We got about a minute and a half or so till we break, but I just want to get this out. I don't know if you paid attention to Trevor Bauer was his name, and they signed him to a huge deal, by the way, richest deal in the sport. And he had very rough sex with a woman. She claimed it was criminal. He was not indicted, but the Dodgers put him on the side. He got paid while the legal process played itself out. Now, this year, Major League Baseball suspended him 2 full years without pay. He's appealing, but basically Major League Baseball said, yeah, we're done with this guy. We'll see you in court. And I'm wondering, Pat, in 60 seconds before we break, I mean, couldn't the NFL do that too with Deshaun Watson? I mean, could this be a suspension the likes of which we've never seen?
Yeah, it has the potential to be that, David, and we can talk more about it. But as I said, a month ago, we had 22 things going on, and a bunch of them were willing to settle earlier, and that didn't happen. So Miami pulled out. Now it's 24, and the 24th sounds like maybe the worst of the group. So consequently, this thing could land up. The model for discipline could be in line with baseball.
He's Pat Kirwan. Weekday afternoons on NFL radio. He's co-host of Moving the Chains with Jim Miller. Pat joins us twice a week, most of the year, courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. More with Pat Kirwan coming up after the break.
If you have questions for Pat, go ahead and text him to the show. Text FSN Radio, the keyword, to 21,000. FSN Radio to 21,000. If the questions gets there, we'll get it on for Pat the next segment. More with Pat on the Deshaun Watson case and other NFL stories on the other side. It's Miller and Moulton right here. Where else? The Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Pat, do you like the idea of a Garoppolo for Baker Mayfield trade?
Yeah, I think both. Those are the kind of trades that we used to have a lot more of. You take my problem, I'll take your problem.
Right.
So, but they'd have to balance up the money. One's 24 unguaranteed, and the other one's almost 19 guaranteed. So you got to figure out, and that's not hard. You can split the difference on the money stuff, but that'd be part of it. And the work is because both guys are on 1-year deals, and you're not dealing with one guy that's got 5 years left on his contract, and the other guy has 1 year, and then all of a sudden you got a real problem because the guy who got the 5-year player would land up having him at their demand as long as they wanted him. The other team would be dumping the guy or having a franchise tag him the year after.
You back in town?
No, I'm not. I'm actually waiting in a call for my wife. She has to go see her surgeon. She's had a lot of major surgery in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, man.
Got some.
Everything okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Good.
Today, tomorrow are just doctor days and surgeon days and all this other shit. So it's, we'll see.
More important, I know. So you're not in town this week then, huh?
My goal is to be there Friday morning. This is what I did 2 weeks ago when they had the same exact stand.
Gotcha.
I missed Wednesday game and I came in Friday and did Friday and Saturday. So
what'd you do with did you already give your Wednesdays away?
I did. My brother and
good.
My brother, even those guys are all going. But my plan is the same. I have a flight at 6:30 on Friday morning, which is what I want to do, and then I come back Sunday morning. So they need to lose one game.
Well, and I actually said yesterday in our final hour, because the last hour is just local, I said, don't want anybody mad at me here, but if they're going to lose one, they need to lose Wednesday, because that way you can start selling tickets for Saturday. Because David said last week they had a big crowd on Friday for game whatever, and then they lost. And then Saturday's crowd, because they couldn't put tickets on sale until after they lost, they had about half the crowd on Saturday.
I was at the 2 games. Friday was ridiculous. I've never seen it that crowded. They were parking at Ford's Garage restaurant and walking in.
Pat, if you'd have seen the heyday when I was running that joint, that was every single game.
God bless them.
We sold out every game for like 2 years.
That is really something.
And then playoffs came, and it was bat blank crazy there for a while. It really was. That's why when I hear, it's literally why I hope they lose Wednesday, because I would hate to see them lose Friday and then win the cup in front of 3,500 people, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, it happened. That reality happened 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, it can all go that direction. If it had to, it'd be a shame. But
probably have to let Mike Kelly know I need press credentials for Friday and Saturday.
Well, it's been fun for me. I love every year, but it's been fun watching them because they came out of the blocks kind of crappy. Then they got rid of all those guys on defense that just don't skate fast enough. And those 3 kids they brought in, I don't know where the hell they got them from, but they were like freaking, they changed everything. It's fun.
Any more summer hockey trips for you? You have another tournament?
Yeah.
You're going
I'm going to Austin, Texas.
That's right.
On the 15th. And then I'm going straight to Florida because he's got that Brian Vesey showcase thing. So that's going to. I'll be in Texas or Florida from the 15th to the 27th, doing my show on all kinds of crazy equipment.
When do your camp tours start?
We head out the last Friday of July.
Gotcha. Just
15 seconds.
We go to New England first for like 2 days.
Okay.
All right. Here we go.
It's fun going from New England to Buffalo. You really get a perspective of that division real fast.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Pat Kirwan, moving the chains, NFL Radio, kind enough to stay with us for a second segment on this Tuesday. Pat joins us courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and over a dozen locations in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. Pat, about this Browns Deshaun Watson, do they have any wiggle room? Can they, upon further review, get out of this contract? Don't you think their public comments at the presser when they said we investigated this, even though it turns out their definition of investigation and most of ours are far different? They didn't talk to the attorney who represents the 22 women. They didn't talk to any of the 22 women. I mean, they didn't investigate it. I mean, we all know that. But because of it, do those comments basically kill them if they then try to legally or otherwise back out of this?
Yeah, of course they're going to be scrutinized. They were scrutinized when they signed them. I remember coming on the show telling you that a lot of Cleveland fans were coming on my show saying we don't want them. And and I remember telling you, no one really believed me, but they were like, well, Baker deserves this last year. And so the seeds were sown for how they felt about the player. Now, let me just educate everybody on this. These teams have one security guy who's usually a retired FBI guy. They lean on the league's investigation. They'll try to find out everything they can from what the league thinks and how they determine this. And then when it got flipped to a civil suit, then I think that the gates were open for others to get involved, a la Atlanta, New Orleans. So those guys probably were being told by the league, hey, if it's a civil situation, then what's the history of suspending players that are in civil suits? It was fairly confident, but they're still talking this can get reopened again. We'll see about that. But that's how all of us, when we had issues with players, I went to the league and league security and tried to get them to help us figure out what the story was.
Pat, ultimately, the NFL pushes these decisions as far down the line as they can. How long are they going to try to wait this out? I mean, usually waiting can be an advantage. At some point, this is starting to look really bad at the NFL to me. I don't know if they view it that way, but how long can they wait?
Well, June's a dead month. They may not feel like they have to react right now. They're certainly going to feel the pressure when camp starts. And every media outlet in the world will be at Cleveland's practice every minute of the day, so they may not want that. They may have to have that and then suspend them for, as I said, a two-layer deal. David pointed out the other day, do you want them back for that on the 8th game thing with the whole country watching? Probably not. So I think the exempt list is going to come back into play here. That's what I think. And I think that solves the short-term issue that you're not going to see him. He's not going to be involved in games. God only knows how many people are going to want to televise everything he does. So I think that's what's going to happen. But your question about June's a dead month. The OTAs and even the mandatory mini camp's going to be over at every place, and guys are going to head out on vacation. It's a pretty dead time, and I think they can get through that. But July 25th, that's a whole different world.
Well, yeah, and let's talk about where Stefanski and the GM are in this. I mean, if you're Stefanski, it's like, come on, I need to know who's my quarterback and when. Because let's be honest, they're not going to the playoffs with Jacoby Brissett. They're not. Jacoby Brissett's the kind of quarterback that can go 3-2 over a 5-week span, the type of backup. But but Jacoby Brissett's not taking the Browns to the playoffs. And Pat, you and I both know they can't just sacrifice this year if Deshaun Watson's suspended for the year and go 7-10 with Jacoby Brissett. I mean, they got to make a move at quarterback, which is probably Baker or trade Baker for Garoppolo and go Garoppolo. I mean, if you're the Browns, don't you have about 7 weeks here in which you look at the NFL and go, come on, man, you got to help us out?
Yeah, the league doesn't respond to that, though. Those pleas, and they just don't care about that. They're caring about a major image of the league, and they're still fighting and weighing out what it's going to be. They don't care about that part. And I found it interesting the other day when Kevin was asked about the quarterback. He didn't have an opinion, didn't have a comment, because it's way beyond the coach. The coach isn't here to decide what's happening. So I think sooner or later, the owner, who absolutely gave him the green light to go do this deal. And remember when they were out of it? It was just Atlanta and New Orleans. How'd they get back in? They got back in with that contract. And that contract Atlanta and New Orleans couldn't and shouldn't and didn't do. So the owner's, he's involved in this, and he's the only one who should be speaking to this subject. And he should take his counsel from the league. But here's the other pressure point. The owners around the league are ticked off at Cleveland for doing that deal. So I don't know how much support they're going to get.
The more you dig into and slice this onion, it's
fascinating. And you know, Pat, it leads me to is that Stefanski, and I know what you get at, that he doesn't know what to do, but is he planning 3 different? I mean, are they working with 2 or 3 different scenarios right now? How are they preparing for the season with such an unknown?
They're preparing Deshaun and they're preparing Jacoby. That's it.
Okay.
There's no one else to prepare, and there's no one else to get. They're not bringing Cam Newton in there, and I've looked at every quarterback. There's no one left, by the way, and there's about 7 teams with 4 quarterbacks on their roster. And you could maybe call them and see if you can get the 4th guy, like Griffin down in Tampa. But you're not going to get one. These are your guys now. And it all turns right back to Baker the longer you look at this. And I spent a lot of time looking at who's available.
Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's moving the chains weekday afternoons from 3 to 7. They are evaluating every team's running back room, and then they are moving on to wide receivers beginning on Thursday. Pat, thanks for sticking around for an extra segment. We appreciate it. Safe travels, and talk to you soon.
I'll talk to you real soon, guys. Thank you.
Pat Kirwan, weekday afternoons on NFL Radio's Moving the Chains. Pat joining us courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh.
You're right. This just gets more intriguing, and it's, obviously a despicable actions that are being talked about. But from an NFL standpoint in the story, it's fascinating, David.
Right now that this 24th woman came out yesterday, her allegations are very specific and gross. If you were the Browns, do you think Deshaun Watson's going to play this year?
David, I don't. I think they're going to give him a year.
And if I'm the Browns, I'm starting to think of, okay, what's our plan B? Because Jacoby Brissett's our backup. It's just a matter of who is he backing up. We thought he'd be backing up Deshaun. So now I ask you, do you go back to Baker?
I would. I would.
Do you think Baker's mature enough to do it? It's why I wouldn't do it if I was the Browns. I think Jimmy G's mature enough to do it. Come in, hired gun for 1 year. Hey, we can contend. This is a good team. I can do this for a year. And basically, I'm auditioning for Seattle and Carolina and all those other teams. I'll do it. Sure.
Baker should, but you're right. Is he mature enough to do it? I tend to agree with you that he's not, David.
I'm telling you, if I'm the Browns, I'm making the trade today. I'm trading Baker Mayfield for Jimmy Garoppolo. And I'm just seeing how this plays out. But I'm not playing Jacoby Brissett this year. Not doing it because I'm not throwing away the year. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit, featuring band attachments to your feet and hips. Power strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a power strap kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Mark, we're playing golf.
Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up now.
I'd like to thank Budweiser, Twin Peaks, and Southwest Florida Golf Carts. Got some good stuff there, flgolfcarts.com.
Where are you going to go? floridasportsnetwork.com. Sign up for our tournament Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Your golf will include your foursome and a chance to have lunch and awards after.
Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
What year did I get gassed by them? 07?
No, much sooner than that.
05?
05.
Okay.
February 05.
Yeah. I guess it's not, I'm talking 17. You know, I honestly, Johnny, I was talking 17 to 19 years ago, actually, the more I realize it. It wasn't 07, 08. It was 04. It was 03 through 05 that the sellout streak was. I just never make myself as old as I am. And it wasn't a housing craze. They've not had the attendance that they've had in 20 years, basically. These are just facts, Johnny. I mean, I've been down here the whole time, worked there, covered them. And the guy that's there now has done, Chris Palin's done a remarkable job as marketing director. Between me and this guy, they were a mess. Palin's done a really nice job. He's been there for about 7, 8 years now. No, Johnny, they're better. Logic Man, they're far better now. Johnny's telling me that everything's great now. Franchise is way better than it ever was.
Dratharian, you've got it backwards. Garoppolo cap hit is $6 million more than Baker.
Couldn't tell you, Logic Man. I don't go to games anymore.
So the Niners would benefit by trading Garoppolo for Mayfield. They would save $6 million against the cap, $5 or $6 million. So then the Niners would go from $4 million to $9 or $10 million. The Browns would go from $40 million to 34 or 35. That's another reason why the deal works, is the Browns can afford to pick up the extra salary. No. Logic Man, no. To your last question. I will say, though, going back to the Blades, you know what is really impressive? How young their crowd is. That, yeah, you know, they got their older base, but, man, there are a ton of families that go to those games. There are kids everywhere.
Everblades?
Yeah.
College kids.
Well,
No,
but I'm talking about
kids.
families, kids.
That's what I went this year, was for the school night. I mean, they've got, that's where we excelled.
Right. You guys were great at groups. I mean, you had 4 or 5 groups every game. Yeah, see, you're not used to the big difference between 4,500 and 6,500 in terms of the beer lines. See, the only thing that bothers me is in the playoffs, when they close up shop at the first minute of the third period, when it goes overtime, you're like,
that's why my girl in the corner up top.
Right.
That's why you gotta.
Yep. It's also why you go to the sports bar, because they don't stop serving.
There you go, Logic Man. It's the best thing going at that place.
That red banner. I don't know, some fight just took place.
Oh yeah. Dan Raphael or whatever has been tweeting like crazy about it. Apparently it was amazing. It was
I haven't heard of either fighter though.
Danier and Inoue is their second fight. Apparently this guy's it says Raphael, I like Dan Raphael. I think he does a really good job. But he's like, this guy's the Donaire's never been beaten like this. He's 39 and Father Time remains undefeated, but basically he's shit out of him.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network. Kicked around a lot of things today. Just talked NFL for a couple segments with Pat Kirwan. You miss any part of the show, you can download our podcast, floridasportsnetwork.com. Game 4 tonight in Tampa, Rangers Lightning. Tampa Bay looking to even the series at 2, looking to make it a home ice series. Lightning 5-1 at home in the playoffs. Rangers 2-6 on the road in the playoffs. Do you think those two trends continue?
I do. I like a lot of what you were talking about yesterday, David. That was Tampa's best game of the series thus far.
Yep.
And for the first time, I don't want to say, trying to find the right word for the Rangers, because it's not that they played poorly, because they didn't, but the first time it really looked like Tampa took the play to the New York Rangers in the series, whereas the Rangers were taking the play to Tampa in New York. I think Tampa found a little something. The best players played great for Tampa, but I think ultimately Tampa took the play to the Rangers as opposed to the other way around, and I think they'll do that again tonight. Obviously, huge sense of urgency for the Lightning. They can't go down 3-1 in this series and give the Rangers 3 outs, whereas 2-2 back to New York would put all the pressure now back on the Rangers. So I like Tampa tonight. I think they continue to take the play to the Rangers, and Vasilevsky played his best game of the series at home. I expect him to have an equal performance. If that's the case, then Tampa takes us back to New York tied at 2.
If I were to throw this out there, would you bet on it? Winner tonight wins the series.
Yes. Yes. I would.
I don't know if I'm willing to go that far, but I'm leaning that way. And I do think it's important to see what the Rangers are like tonight. I think we all have a pretty good idea of what we're going to get from the Lightning. But what are we going to get from the Rangers? Because they are slowly not playing as well in this series. That the advantage that we thought they would have by continuing to play when this series started, whereas the Lightning had the 9-day layoff. And clearly Tampa Bay was totally out of sorts in game 1. And even in game 2, at home, the Rangers had far more of the edge in play. And midway through game 3, Tampa Bay started to say, okay, we know what you've got. We figured you out. Here's how we're counteracting you. So now I thought the Rangers looked tired, particularly in the last 10, 12 minutes of the game. And they've played a lot more hockey than the Lightning have. So have they hit the proverbial wall mark? Did they have their little stretch there where they went 6-1 between Carolina and Tampa Bay? They went 6-1. Hey, we just saw it in Edmonton. Edmonton was down 3-2 to the Kings. They won the final 2 games of that series and won 4 out of 5 against Calgary. You know, Edmonton had their 6-1 stretch in which we're like, oh, damn. And then Colorado said, nah, we're going to bring them back down to earth. And the Rangers just went through their 6-1 stretch.
Right. The biggest difference there is that the goaltender for the Rangers can't qualify for the over 40 league at the local rink. And Shesterkin has been terrific.
Yes.
He played poorly in the first 2 games of the Pittsburgh series. Really has played
on the road, right?
But played poorly.
Yes, he did.
Since then,
got pulled in both.
Since then, has played really well.
Yes, 940 save percentage since then.
He was bumped, he was hit, he was whacked. Tampa really drove the net in game 3. I want to see the same drive to the net at Tampa and see if they can get to the Ranger goaltender because he's not had a bad game in a while. I don't want to say he's due because the postseason, the best players play their best, but there's part of me that thinks this is the night Tampa might light him up a little bit.
And I think that the Rangers are not going to get a lot of power plays tonight. So they better figure out a way to be better 5-on-5. 8:00 tonight, ESPN will have all the hockey from now on with the Western Conference Finals over. If you're a hockey fan, it's the 4-letter network the rest of the way.
If you're a basketball fan, it's the same network the rest of the way.
That is true. John Forsland with the call on the radio, Sports USA Radio Network, if you can find it. If you want to listen.
What are you trying to say?
Well, I'm just saying.
If you can find it.
Well, it's not Westwood One. That's all I'm saying. It's a little different outlet. That's all. Where are we going tonight? The LIV series, Phil made it official yesterday. Dustin Johnson in the last 2 hours pulled a Kevin Na resigning from the PGA Tour.
And Bob Harig had a terrific point about that because when asking why Phil didn't because he is a lifetime member of the PGA Tour. 10 career wins, a minimum of 10 career wins in 15 years on the tour are the bare necessities. Phil has achieved a lifetime PGA membership. Phil said very, very succinctly to Bob Harig, I'm not giving that up. I worked hard for that. I think I should be able to play on both. Dustin Johnson was months away from getting to the 15-year portion of that and has decided to resign from the tour. Now, there's one part of this that I don't know the answer to. If you resign from the tour, do you resign from your pension?
Well, I think your pension ends. All right. As I understand pensions, I think they now, Kevin Na, Dustin Johnson, both will now no longer earn anything more for their pension. That whatever their pension is, if they had retired from golf today, that I think their pension is what it is as of today.
Yeah, and I just wonder if the whole retiring thing, because I've never, players just quit playing. Do they all send a retirement? We've got a local guy we know, George McNeil, who's played on a bunch of PGA Tour events. George is in his 40s, maybe the Champions Tour, and maybe because of that they don't resign. But George is barely playing. He's not resigning from the tour. He's just not getting asked to play in events, if you know what I mean.
Right.
I just don't know if their resignation is it's a different association. This isn't working for the post office. So
And we concluded yesterday that the reason we thought Kevin Na resigned for the PGA Tour on Saturday and the reason why we think DJ resigned within the last couple hours is that they are anticipating a penalty from the PGA Tour, a suspension of some kind. And what I think they're worried about is then the majors, kind of like the Baseball Hall of Fame, after Pete Rose signed away his, baseball life for a year. They then changed the rule that said, well, when you're on the ineligible list, you're not eligible to be voted on for the Hall of Fame. And I think the golfers are concerned that the USGA, the R&A, and the PGA of America, and maybe even the Masters, that they may try to back the PGA Tour by saying, well, we're open to all of you unless you're suspended by the PGA Tour, then you're ineligible for our event. And it's a technicality.
Which, by the way, Mickelson doesn't think is going to happen, because Mickelson, in his interview with Bob Harig, and we had Bob on the show, in case you missed it, floridasportsnetwork.com. For any part of the show that you missed, you can download the podcast. But Phil's planning on playing in the Open, and was asked by Bob Harig if he had talked to the people running the Open Championship and the U.S. Open. Now, he did not get into what was said, but Phil did say in the interview that he has been speaking to the people running these tournaments and is under the assumption that he can play in these tournaments.
Right.
And he's not resigning from the tour. So it's just an interesting little factoid of where non-DJ are very different than Phil Mickelson.
Right. They are worried that after the fact, and, I want, like, if I was Phil and you were, say, the RNA, and I call you up and I'm kind of like, hey, if by chance, I play in this LIV thing here, this, that, and the other thing, am I going to be eligible to play in your thing? You can answer that as of June 7th. And you can go, yeah, sure, you're eligible. But Mark, on June 28th, you guys may change your tune, because there's going to be an awful lot of pressure that is about to come down on the USGA, but probably also the RNA, because it's not just going to come from the PGA Tour. It's going to come from the European Tour. They are wanting to do to Sergio and Westwood and Poulter and the like what the PGA Tour is doing to them on their tour. I mean, they're in cahoots with the PGA Tour, business and otherwise. And so it's going to be the full court press on the majors to try to get these guys. And I mean, the guy who runs the PGA of America is best friends with Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour. And he admitted that. He goes, we're best friends. Do you really think the PGA of America is not going to, for next year's PGA, honor whatever it is the PGA Tour wants them to do?
90%, yes, I agree with you. It just all depends on what the lawyers are going to end up saying. Now, you may be right on the PGA. It's one of the four majors. The other three, in my opinion, have no chance of doing. First off, Augusta can do whatever they want. It is the Augusta Invitational. Okay. They can put whatever rules they want. And I don't think they're going to listen to what the PGA Tour says. I don't think they're going to have past champions not show up because the PGA Tour has told Augusta National, I don't want you to.
Well, and also, it's not just Phil. It's DJ. It's Sergio. It's Schwartzel. I mean, there are four former Masters champions who, if they're healthy, will all play in next year's Masters, guaranteed.
So I don't think anything happens at Augusta. I think the lawsuits that come out of the RNA and the USGA trying to do something to exclude players from the Open Championships, of which they've all qualified under their rules. They're going to try to change the rules to affect four guys. Do you know how many other guys they could affect by changing those rules?
Well, I wonder if they'll say this, that because there's like 30 different ways to get into the Opens. And one of the ways that I'm sure these guys get in is because of their PGA Tour status. If they're then suspended, do you think they can then say, hey, you can't get in via that status because you don't have status on that tour right now. So you can still get in our tournament, but you're going to have to qualify.
I don't believe that status has anything to do with those. World Golf Ranking does. Winning certain tournaments. Now
Now, the funny thing is, DJ won the Masters in 2020, so he's eligible for all these majors through 2025. Phil won the PGA in 2021. He's eligible for all these majors through 2026.
When was Sergio's?
2017. So this is the last year, right, basically, for Sergio. So DJ resigned this morning. The tournament gets underway Thursday in London. 48 players. Last place, 120 grand.
Shotgun start, everybody.
Right.
Just like our tournament on Saturday.
Exactly.
What do the Miller and Moulton tournament and the LIV Tour have in common? Shotgun start, everybody. Shotgun start.
Is there some
Makes it seem so Bush League. I'm sorry. It makes it seem, I know they're doing a scramble for part of this or whatever the hell they're doing. It makes it seem like a charity event instead of a golf tournament.
Is it possible that they're doing it for broadcast purposes, that essentially, hey, just 5 hours.
One window.
Here you go. Well, everybody. Now, you got to obviously, I don't know if they're going to have all 18 holes covered, but I wonder if that's part of their plan, since we've limited the field to 48. I watched Ricky Fowler. I mean, he struggled last week, made the cut, but he was like one of the, I think, bottom 10 golfers or whatever. I mean, if you're Ricky Fowler, you're going to keep on keeping on the PGA Tour. I mean, you don't have status right now. You're getting in on sponsors exemptions.
As Bob Harig said in our interview, David, 48th place at the Memorial, an elevated tour event, got you 38,000. 48th in the RBs and the LIV here. It's going to get you a minimum of $120. No cuts. Guaranteed money.
Miller and Moulton. Just some of what's out there. Game 4 tonight, Eastern Conference Finals, NHL, and the ongoing LIV story. The ongoing Deshaun Watson story. Now 24 and counting. What's the league going to do? What are the Browns going to do? And for all the Browns fans out there, very curious, the people in your life, or you for that matter, are you okay with this?
And were you okay, but is it getting worse with every new case that comes up? Had you come to grips with it with 22, but 23 and 24, particularly reading the story of 24, going, oh boy.
Yeah, it's an oh boy. It is an oh boy. You could see having certain people in your life going, yeah, I can't support this team anymore. Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening. The bonus hour is next.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Mark, we're playing golf.
Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up now.
I'd like to thank Budweiser, Twin Peaks, and Southwest Florida Golf Carts. Got some good stuff there, flgolfcarts.com.
Where are you going to go? floridasportsnetwork.com. Sign up for our tournament, Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Your golf will include your foursome and a chance to have lunch and awards after.
Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, Nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles. Check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So, Schitt's Creek, we just finished it. It's to me, it's worth watching. I think whatever her name is that's in Home Alone, she is so fantastic and Eugene Levy is fucking brilliant. Right. But the two, Levy's kid who's in the show, who's his son in the show, is getting married to a guy. And it's the day of the wedding or whatever, and the maid of honor and the groom leave to go do whatever they're going to do, and Levy's kid, who's the other, he's panicked. He's a train wreck as a person in the show, right? And so they're like, the husband's like, "You just stay here. I've got you a massage." And so he gets the massage, and the guy gives him a happy ending for the massage. And so he's coming back, and he's got this big smile on his face, and the husband comes in. I've never had a happy ending, and that you did that for me. And so the husband all pissed off because it's their wedding day. I can't believe it. And the maid of honor, who's really snarky, she just looks over and she goes, "Well, what did you say in the note?" "I told him to take extra special care of him, and I realized what I just asked." Yep, happy endings aren't illegal. They actually are. You're soliciting prostitution.
Not according to Rusty Harden.
I mean, aren't they?
Does it depend on the state? There's apparently a lot of things you can do in Texas, Mark.
You ever seen the movie Marriage Story?
I don't think so.
I haven't either. He talks about how good Leota is in that role.
All right. What do you want to talk about?
Probably should get the poll question out. We can do a little more golf here.
Okay.
But we just did golf. I don't know. We did golf and hockey that last segment. And 2 football before it.
Yeah, Debbie Dunleavy, I don't think it's because they are all full with season tickets. I think it's because they're a disorganized mess right now. They've had a lot of people leave the athletic department. So
Here we go.
You You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
The bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday, 93 days away from kickoff of the NFL season, 86 days away from the first college football game, unless Nebraska Northwestern in Dublin on that final Saturday in August is good enough for you, then 81 days away are we from the start of the college football season. So 81, 86, or 93, depending on your point of view and what interests you the most. Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com, which is where you can go to vote in our poll question.
Which is about the LIV Tour. Now that Phil Mickelson and Dustin Johnson have joined, what do you think of their decision? 43% of you supported 100%. 57% of you say they're sellouts. Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, FL Sports Network on Twitter, or floridasportsnetwork.com to vote on today's poll question.
By the way, I voted support it, but I said, yeah, of course they're selling out. But I'm in support of them selling out. They're independent contractors. They're golfers. Now, I do think that, first off, two things. One, I am doing a little bit of research for the LIV Golf Series. All right. They hired me and everything. So, if you want to consider that as, part of why I answered the way I did, but I can tell you that I would have answered it the same way, whether they hired me for this first event or not.
Well, you like a Rebel League anyhow. There's nobody that likes a Rebel League more than you. This has nothing to do with the LIV Tour. The USFL, the AAF, the XFL, it doesn't matter. If it's a rival league, David, you have been all about it for as long as I've known you. And I'm not, you're all for more leagues, more sports.
Yes. And also I was going to say there's a better chance of there being a personal bias for me towards this theoretically, not because I'm doing some research for them to get ready for their first tournament, but because of just my career. I mean, I've been an independent contractor far more often than I've been a salaried employee. I mean, I don't have a job that pays me benefits and haven't had one for 5 years. Now, I have to purchase my health care. So I understand being an independent contractor. I have a lot of W-2 forms when I do my taxes.
I wish I had more.
Right.
I need more.
And so I am a little bit more inclined than most, I think, to be on the side of the tennis player and the golfer here, in which, listen, you could be the 120th best player in the world and you could be in the minors pretty quickly. And when you really think about it, I mean, if you're the 200th best person, whatever it is you do in the world, they have a world ranking system and they determine you are the 200th best person at your job in the world. In 90+% of the occupations, you would be making a staggering living. In golf and tennis, you're in the minors and you are struggling and you might be living out of your car. I mean, this is hard living here unless you are elite. I mean, look at Ricky Fowler. It was not that long ago. He was the top 10 player in the world. Now he's barely good enough to be on the PGA Tour. And he's like 33 years old. I mean, this is hard.
No, you're 100% correct. And, Bob, I tried to get Bob, and Bob did answer it. If he thought there'd be this much animosity, if it was, if Mark Cuban started this, or, he mentioned a few others, if they started this league, he thinks there would still be animosity because there's a rival league starting. I think there's more of that than the people I deal with, that there's more of that they have an issue with than Saudi blood money. I've never heard anybody talk about it as Saudi blood money. I really haven't, other than the media.
What's interesting is, and now you can take the LIV Golf Series at their word or not, but what Norman and others have said is that we don't view ourselves as a rival league, like you're going to have to decide them or us. Norman's theory is we just wanted to be able to provide an alternative, that there's more to life than how you have to do it, the way the PGA Tour makes you, the number of events you must play in, what their rules are. I mean, Norman, who's been very independent his whole career and drastically wanted to change how the PGA Tour did business over 30 years ago. So this is not new coming from Greg. But also he said, you know, hey, look at our events and look at the dates of our events. I mean, we put this schedule together trying to be just an alternative, not an either or. Like, you know, look at our first event here. It's the week before the U.S. Open. He goes, most guys don't play the week before a major. And he said, you know, I mean, yeah, they got the Canadian Open going on, but we all know where they put certain tournaments. It kind of shows your status on tour. And then, you know, they got the other one. It's July 4th weekend.
It does show you, by the way, where the Canadian Open is now, because there was a time this tournament actually mattered.
Yeah.
Ask the Nicklases and the Trevinos and the Millers of the world that this was an important tournament at one point, and now they stuck it the week before the U.S. Open.
Well, look at the whole Texas swing. I mean, let's face it, which is only, I think, 3 tournaments now, but the Texas swing's not important. I mean, the Texas swing's barely hanging on the PGA Tour.
New Orleans was going to go away if they didn't make it into a team event.
Correct.
And
And
as popular as the tour is, there are still spots where ticket sales or whatever the case may be, there are holes in this tour. And I think it's a lot like NASCAR. They got too big, too many events, and they watered their own sport down a little bit. But what I do think will be interesting, David, is this weekend, you got to go find the LIV Tour. Maybe this weekend's not the right weekend to figure it out. But do you think there's going to be one less eyeball on the PGA Tour because of the LIV Tour?
No.
We know what the golf audience is. It's going to be a 3-2 or what,
yeah,
whatever their number is that they get, 3-2, 3-3.
Right.
They're going to get their, 3.5 million people watching their event.
I mean, is it possible that, let's just say, Phil has a good first 2 days and Phil is near the top of the leaderboard? Will a few people try to actually find this tournament on Saturday? Remember, it's in London, so it's 5 hours ahead of us. So in theory, Phil, if he's on the back 9 mark of this tournament with a chance to win it, it'd be between noon and 2 on Saturday, Eastern.
I am curious Saturday morning. I will probably get up and turn the Golf Channel on to see if the morning drive actually gives 40 seconds to the. I mean, those are some of the things I'm curious about. How is the golf? I mean, David, I say this because the NHL Network didn't recognize a lockout.
Right. Yeah, my understanding from what I saw yesterday walking through an airport, the Golf Channel has one person that's over in London with this, and that they may send it to them to get one report. I mean, I will say, if you're the Golf Channel, not that it's important for them to be journalistically, to have integrity and all that, but I mean, if you're the Golf Channel and you do not have at least a report coming from the LIV series, I mean, that is laughable. But listen, the Golf Channel is not about journalism. This is business.
100%.
Period. End of sentence. And it is owned by NBC, and NBC has a deep business relationship, not CBS's relationship, but a deep business relationship with the PGA Tour. And the Golf Channel knows they go out of business if they lose the rights to broadcast PGA Tour events on Thursdays and Fridays and have the access that they have on the weekends.
Not a lot of other places for Thursday and Friday golf to go right now, but it doesn't mean with where streaming services are that others couldn't jump in. But I am just curious how much coverage they give it.
Very little is my expectation. Very little.
And it will be noticeable when they're pouring on somebody that we've never heard of that's leading the Canadian Open while Phil Mickelson and Dustin Johnson are going to be in this tournament.
Now, just throwing this out there, if you actually want this LIV series to, let's just see what can happen. Let's hope they get off to a good start. Do you want one of the 6 or 7 big names to win this thing? Or would it bolster the league if DJ and Sergio and Westwood and Poulter and Schwartzel and Keimer and Phil and a few other prominent players, the highest ranked guys in it, and then some guy who's ranked 312 from Zimbabwe wins it?
No, I think they need stars to win it. They need people that we've heard of. That adds more to it to me than some no one beating a bunch of someones.
See, I actually think the other way. I think if I'm the LIV series, I want a leaderboard. If I got 6 or 7 names on the leaderboard, I want 6 of them that everybody knows. And I want the unknown to beat them. Because then I want to be able to make the case. Hey, golf here's pretty good. Come on now. There are good golfers everywhere.
Needle moves when ranked players win. That's all. I understand your point completely. If you're going to try to contest that there are 300 people out there that we should be watching. But it's never worked for the PGA Tour when a no one wins an event. I don't know how it would work for this tour when a no one wins an event.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Miller and Moulton. Dustin Johnson, by the way, resigned from the PGA Tour this morning. Kevin Na, the 33rd ranked player in the world, did that on Saturday. We think it's a specific strategic event because if the PGA Tour is going to suspend the PGA Tour players who play in this series, well, if you resign from the tour, their penalties, in theory, no longer affect you.
The other thing that this tour that misses out to me, David, the no-cut thing. Part of why I like golf is that you have to earn your money. When they're just handing it away, it's just a cash grab. I don't like the Tournament of Champions. I don't watch the Tour Championship when it's down to 30 players. Part of the allure to me is having to make the cut on Friday.
I'll give you that. I will say this, though. I like 54-hole events. Not sure that all these events need to be 72 holes. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Mark, we're playing golf.
Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up now.
I'd like to thank Budweiser, Twin Peaks, and Southwest Florida Golf Carts. Got some good stuff there, flgolfcarts.com.
Where are you going to go? floridasportsnetwork.com. Sign up for our tournament, Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Your golf will include your foursome and a chance to have lunch and awards after.
Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Remember that Scott Vincent guy I told you about?
Mm-hmm.
35-1. $35-1. Telling you, he's worth a shekel.
What's Scott Vincent?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I laughed last night. My wife gets home from work at almost 7 o'clock. Mondays are late day, but usually that's 6:30 because half-hour drive at that time. I always get a text. When she leaves work, I get a text, ETA,
Right.
time. 6:20. I'm like, are you on your way yet? Nothing. 6:30, I get a text, home at 6:55. I'm like, oh, fuck. So Maddie spent the night at my mom's the last 2 nights. She'll probably be here the next 2 days for the record because there's no camp this week. Why?
Right.
Because you end school 1 week and you start summer school
A week later.
a week later because
Right.
where are you going to go?
Right. I could go to the Reds game, but what are you looking at?
A tweet from one of our listeners. He's a dork. You know him. He hates, he thinks everything the same is the same is good. God is good. FGCU is good. Michael Fly sucks.
Okay.
But yeah, she came home last night and she's like, do you want to just, you want to go get an appetizer and a drink? I'm like, uh-oh, someone had a rough day. So I knew this can be a long week because we went out and went to Coldwater Oyster Bar, Oyster, something like that, right by Pop Stroke. Good spot, everybody. Coldwater Oyster Market, I believe is the name of the place. Good little spot.
Okay.
Not your kind of spot because I don't see you someone sitting down knocking down a dozen oysters.
No. But telling you, Johnny Mac, I think it is very good odds.
I know. I'm trying to get a bet on it right now.
Is the Bucks QB core still Brady, Gabbert, and Trask?
Yes.
Elite stuff.
Does Greeny just love her? Because she's gotten a lot. She's like the mainstay on his show now.
I don't know if he chooses it or that's a decision from above, but
She's getting a lot of time.
mm-hmm. Yep.
I never hear because we're on in here, but I mean, she gets a lot of airtime now, and I don't ever recall her getting that type of airtime before.
Well, her and Kimes are getting the majority of female reps.
10 seconds.
So what do you want to talk about again?
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. Final thoughts, all coming up in 20 or so minutes. Remember Deebo Samuel had that big stink?
Right.
Beginning of free agency, trade me. Leading up to the draft, trade me. Yeah, Niners have their mandatory minicamp today. Guess who's going to be at it?
Deebo Samuel?
Yeah. Imagine that.
Realized he had no hand.
Right. Doesn't want to give any money back to the man. So he'll be there. Bucks, by the way, minicamp going on right now, in fact. ESPN showing it live because it's a chance to show Tom Brady. It's Tom Brady in the jersey that you'll never see him in, too. He's in the,
The creamsicle
he's
orange.
in the creamsicle jersey.
Well, they were going to wear those this year, right? They were going to bring those back.
For one game, right?
Right.
Aren't they bringing him back next year?
Well,
So
we thought it was
They
for
were going to.
2023.
they were going to.
Right.
But Tom Brady then came back. Question. Do you ever think you'll see Tom Brady play a professional football game in the creamsicle jersey?
Now that's a poll question.
My vote is no.
So is mine.
So is mine. Maybe it's not a poll question.
Not that Brady has that kind of influence with the team or anything.
I will never bet against him retiring ever again in my life, though.
No, I'm all in that this is his last year. I'm all in.
All right.
I was surprised that he retired, but I will be more surprised if he plays beyond this year.
Regardless if he wins the Super Bowl or not.
Yeah, I think it's even more reason to walk.
Oh, if he won the Super Bowl, he's done for sure.
But I think he's done no matter what. I believe the story, by the way. The big conspiracy story that's out there.
The Dolphins.
The whole thing, he was going to Miami and they were going to try to bring Sean Payton and that he was going to end up with an ownership stake of some kind. I mean, you got to remember, Tom Brady, Michigan Wolverine. Stephen Ross, maybe the biggest Michigan Wolverine booster.
Right. Remember, he did not want Harbaugh because he didn't want to take him away from the University of Michigan. Didn't want him for the Miami Dolphins because he would not take him away from the University of Michigan.
Tom and Giselle are already on record as saying that they're retiring to South Florida. And they've already purchased a really expensive home and piece of property there.
That's not hard to do.
Well, I understand that. But so I was believing of all that. And I think now that everyone is just, filling time. Sean Payton's going to fill time with Fox. Tom's going to fill time by playing football. I don't know if Brady ever broadcasts. I think this could go down as like the biggest saving face move that a network's ever done. I don't know that Brady will do broadcasting because he's not going to like getting criticized. And you get criticized when you put a headset on.
You get criticized when you run a team, too.
Right.
Different.
And I don't know if he was going to run her team or just have an ownership stake in it. But I don't think Tom will do a lot of broadcasting. I think the most lucrative part and best part of that deal, I believe, is the fact that Fox got Brady to say, yeah, I'll do appearances for you. Because I do think Tom Brady walks into the room, you make money. And Fox can use him to appease sponsors. And Brady says, yeah, I'll shake hands. I'll kiss babies. I'll show up at events. Yeah, I'll give some speeches. Sure. Absolutely. I think Tom Brady makes CEOs get off their wallet. There are not a lot of superstars in this world. And I thought for Fox as a business, that was actually the best part of that deal that no one's talking about. that Brady committed for how many years? That he'll walk into rooms on your behalf, shake hands, ha, 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 for 3-4 hours, food and drink, as Fox is sitting there going, so you want to buy our package? Tell you what, I'll do it if, Tom, will you play golf? I'll spend the money if you and I can play golf. Yeah, okay, sure.
But doesn't he have to? I mean, I got you. They let him out of the broadcast to just be the handshake guy? They got to get something else out of him than that.
Well, okay. First off, I think Greg Olson's going to have a really good year this year. He's not going to be under a lot of scrutiny because he's viewed as the fill-in.
Well, to that point, he's not going to be under any scrutiny because they're going to be after all the money that's going in all these places. That's where the attacks come. The attacks don't come on the two guys that got called up unless they're god-awful. And they're not god-awful. They're pretty good.
Right. They were the B team, and they were good.
Right.
And they have chemistry, and they'll be good as the A team. And people will be writing stories going, what a greght move. We're so tired of Joe and Troy.
Well, and look at Greg Olson. I judge a couple of things. There's always the mom factor that we talk about, but I always now look at my wife, which is part of the mom factor. When my wife saw Greg Olson, she went, ooh, who's that? I went, oh, okay. All right. You like the flowing hair there, I see. Good for you. But no, I mean, and I go back to Herb Street. It's my ex-wife's best friend. Whatever Herb Street said, that was, this is 20-some years ago,
right.
25 years
gospel.
ago. It was gospel, whatever he said.
Right.
She got into college football because of Kirk Herbstreit. There is something to be said for your appeal to others.
Sure.
Greg Olson has some appeal to others.
But he'll be under virtually no scrutiny. He's viewed right now as a placeholder. He's holding down the job for a year, and then Brady's going to come in and take the job. Well, he's going to get good reviews because of it. And like you said, they'll do a good job. And then I just don't believe that Brady is going to invest the time, because Tom wants to be great at everything he does. Great. Did you see, and we didn't watch it, Felipe, you did. How was Brady during the match?
Oh, just the coolest guy ever,
But how was he towards himself?
I don't know, just regular old corny Tom Brady,
And see, the highlights I saw, he was doing nothing but yelling at himself because he wasn't any good.
Oh, yeah.
All he did was, he was angry with himself. He did not want to perform that way in public.
Well, the last match was with golfers when it was Tiger and Phil and all that. He was getting down on himself too until he holed that shot. He, hit that goofy shot or whatever it was and made a great shot. He was before that, he was pretty dejected. He wasn't talking. He wasn't really in because he stunk. Then he made a great shot and he lightened up a little bit.
And I don't him trying to be relatable to us, but if you yell, dang it, on air on national television, it's kind of weird. And that's how it sounded.
So if Tom goes into this broadcasting thing, he's going to want to be regarded as the best. Well, there are very few that can just sit down, put the headset on, and be the best. You usually have to work at it and work at it pretty hard. And also, in order to be the best, you've got to be willing to criticize. And most players, 10 minutes after they're done playing, are not wanting to criticize those that they've played with. I don't know. I think that the Fox thing it's almost like a distraction. I don't know that it's really going to happen.
Miller and Moulton. That's a little bit, you kind of hit me with a little bit of a Moulton bombshell right there.
It's just a take. It's different from most. I get it.
And I know you don't do it to try to have a hot take, but you love the broadcast industry, and that's where David Moulton's head is. He says Brady may not do games. I like it. The good, the bad, and the ugly coming up on the other side. Another bombshell, maybe. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Mark, we're playing golf.
Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com to sign up now.
I'd like to thank Budweiser, Twin Peaks, and Southwest Florida Golf Carts. Got some good stuff there, flgolfcarts.com.
Where are you going to go? FloridaSportsNetwork.com. Sign up for our tournament Saturday, June 11th, a scramble at the West Bay Club in Estero. Your golf will include your foursome and a chance to have lunch and awards after.
Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Avs have never lost the final. Of course, they've only been 2 other times, but
Dang.
You all right over there?
I had a good today was today one, but it happened yesterday, not today. It was the AI step over.
it was the what?
The Allen Iverson step over Tyronn Lue.
Oh, when he hit the shot against the Lakers?
Yep. Scored 45 points.
Yeah, it was amazing. Only game they won.
Only game that the Lakers lost that whole playoff run.
East was really weak.
Oh, yeah. Those post-MJ days.
Well, Ewing got old. MJ was gone. Ewing got old, so the Knicks were just beginning their downslide. And also Indiana kind of aged out the year before when they took the Lakers to 6 in the finals.
And the Bucks were too young. And the Raptors as well. Young Ray Allen, young Glenn Davis. Or Glenn Robinson. Glenn Davis.
And Vin Baker, right?
Vin Baker, yep. I hate Ben Simmons too. I mean, that's random, but damn.
Well, they had one. His name was Jimmy Butler. And they decided that they'd keep Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris.
Given Tobias Harris nearly $190 million.
I have no idea why, but in 1946, the Pirates players voted 20-16 to walk out rather than play the Giants.
Huh. Hello, I'll say this, though. The 07 Cavs was a worse lineup than the lineup Iverson took to the finals.
07 Cavs probably the team that had the least business being in the finals ever.
But the 01 Sixers aren't far behind.
Right. Neither are the 18 Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
For a strike. They walked out to get more money. Started the Players Association, essentially. In recognition of the American Baseball Guild, David. As your reason behind it.
Fifteen
I want to
seconds.
work for him.
Well, free food, free parking. I just
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. The home stretch of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. We had Bob Harig on 2 hours ago, live from London. He interviewed Phil Mickelson yesterday. First interview that Phil did after officially joining the LIV series. And we had 2 segments with Pat Kirwan in the 8 o'clock hour today. You ever miss any part of the show? Download our podcast, floridasportsnetwork.com, floridasportsnetwork.com. You ready?
I am ready. Since we have no open.
No.
We'll just get after it.
I'm sending the script to Vicky today. My guess is she'll cut it today or tomorrow, and by the end of the week, we'll have a new open for.
There you go.
Today was the day when.
We start in 1769, David. Daniel Boone ascends Pilot Knob, setting sight on what is now known as the Bluegrass region of Kentucky. 1906, the Cubs get 11 in the first inning against the Giants. They would beat them 19-0, getting 19 runs off of future Hall of Famers Christy Mathewson and Joe McGittney. Worst beating in Giants history, by the way. 1917, Melvin Jones and a number of other Chicago businessmen found the Lions Club. It's now the largest service organization in the world. 1936, Yanks beat the Indians 5-4 in 16. It's the longest recorded game without a strikeout.
Wow.
I thought that was an interesting little factoid.
Yeah. Nearly 100 outs, none of them by strikeout.
Don't ask the question of what the second one is, but in Today in 37, Time Magazine publishes the second of the only 2 known photos taken of the Supreme Court in session. 1941, the U.S. Open. Craig Wood wins at Colonial in Fort Worth. Be a little warm. That's why the PGA gets to go back some of these sites that we talk about, David, because June temps at a lot of these places are sweltering.
They have not been in Texas since the late 60s, the PGA, but I think by 2030 they return.
46, the Pirates players vote to walk out rather than play the New York Giants. It was the precursor to what would be the American Baseball Guild, which is the precursor to the Player Association. They were trying to get minimum salaries up to $7,500 a player.
So they had a one-day strike, basically?
Basically.
I like it.
1955, the $64,000 question premieres on CBS. Also, the same day, Ike appeared in color, the first president to do so. 1965, Sony introduced the home videotape recorder. Want to take a stab at the initial price in 1965?
Of a tape recorder?
Home video tape recorder.
Oh, home video tape
recorder.
No idea.
$1,000 in 65.
Yeah, I was going to guess a lot less.
1966, David, I did this just for you. The Mets select Steve Chilcott, number 1 of the draft.
Yeah, I know who went number 2.
Who?
Reggie Jackson. Yep.
Could have been a Met.
Reginald Martinez Jackson, and 7 years later, he's beating him in the World Series, homering off Seaver.
1969, the Johnny Cash Show debuts on ABC. He'd have Bob Dylan as his guest. 1975, Thank God I'm a Country Boy's number 1 in the nation. 1976, David, the NBC Nightly News with John Chancellor and David Brinkley premieres. That was really just for you. I know how much you love your newscast.
I'm singing John Denver, though. I had his albums. I had his bumper sticker. Country Roads. I had a Country Roads bumper sticker in my room.
Wow. I love this one for you who love the Royals so much, David. Today in 77, during the Queen's Jubilee, the Sex Pistols tried to perform God Save the Queen on a boat in the Thames. They were shut down by the police. That's rock and roll, everybody.
I tell you, they've never had a sense of humor, which is part of why I love all the intrigue involving the Royals.
78, Bullets beat the Sonics in 7.
Yeah, it was one of the rare teams to go on the road and win a game 7. The Bullets did it in 78 in the NBA, and then the Pirates in 79 beat the Orioles on the road, and that was the last 2 game 7 road wins in the finals until the Penguins in 09.
You know, you have those days and you meet really cool people.
Right.
I would even think for President Reagan, this was a big day. Today in 82, met Pope John Paul II in Vatican City in Rome, and then met Queen Elizabeth later in the day. That's a good get.
Yeah.
1989, first baseball game to start outdoors and end indoors. Blue Jays Stadium, they closed the roof in the middle of the game. They would beat the Brewers 4-2.
That's cool.
Today in 93, Prince would celebrate his birthday by changing his name to an unpronounceable symbol. 1997, the Wings get their first cup since 55, sweeping the Philadelphia Flyers. Today in 04, the Bolts get their first cup.
Game 7 against Calgary.
That's right.
After winning game 6 in overtime, Marty St. Louis.
12 years ago, Bryce Harper, first picked by the Nationals. 12 years ago. And it was 4 years ago that the Caps win their first Stanley Cup, beating the Las Vegas Golden Knights.
And have not won a playoff series since.
Belmont winners today, David. Mad Play in 24. Gallant Fox in 30. Whirlaway with Eddie Acaro aboard for the Triple Crown in 41. Eddie Acaro again with 1 count in 52. Arts and Letters in 69. Temperance Hill in 80. Danzig Connect and Touch Gold in 86 and 97, respectively, ridden by Chris McCarron, and Tunnelist won in 2014. French Open winners today. Margaret Court wins her 3rd. Chrissy Evert wins her 2nd straight. It was her 10th Grand Slam in 80. Bjorn Borg wins his 11th and final career Grand Slam in 81. Chrissy beats Martina today in 86 for her 18th and final Grand Slam title. Lendl retains his title in 87. Jim Courier wins in 92. And Federer wins his only French title today in 2009. Those no longer with us: Jessica Tandy, Dean Martin, our friend Bert Sugar, Thurman Munson, and Prince, all born today. Those still with us: Tom Jones, celebrating his 82nd birthday. Liam Neeson, his 70th birthday. Let's see, Mick Foley is 57. Dave Navarro from the Chili Peppers is 55. Mike Madonna is 52. Allen Iverson is 47 today. Anna Kournikova is 41. Keegan Bradley is 36. Christian McCaffrey, 26, and David Montgomery is 25. And that, David, is today was the day when.
I got a couple.
Uh-oh.
Go for it.
Today in 93, Drazen Petrovic, he was killed in a motorcycle accident in Germany. And today in 1998, the Utah Jazz scored 54 points in a finals game. That's the lowest in the shot clock era of NBA history. And I was going to use the Game 7 Bullets one, but something you failed to mention was that the head coach, Dick Motta, famously proclaimed in that series, the opera isn't over until the fat lady sings.
All righty then.
Was he the first to say that? Is that what?
I think so. I mean, it says he famously said it, so
Hmm.
Huh.
I don't know.
I never gave Motta credit for that.
No.
Don't know if I should. I don't think I should.
We'll look it up, though. But I like it. I like it.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
Virginia is the good today. Not just for lovers, David. Now no longer ticket quotas. They join 20 other states that include Florida that will not have ticket quotas for their officers. Thank you, Virginia. And everybody, please try to drive close to the speed limit. For the bad, we go to Charlotte, North Carolina, where Customs and Border Protection officers at the Charlotte Douglas International Airport stopped a traveler coming from the Dominican Republic earlier this week who was trying to bring a little Peruvian marching powder into the United States. 23 pounds of the white dust that he had concealed in the seat cushions of his motorized wheelchair. Good for you for the try, but a 22-year-old in the wheelchair with $400,000 a blow, well, you'll spend a little time in the pokey. And finally, a tremendous ugly, David. We go to Volusia County in Florida, where Ronald Williams stole a jet ski over the weekend. Then he couldn't get it started. So he started floating away on the jet ski that he stole. Police were able to get a boat from some people who were literally ready to go out into the water. So police come with the boat, guns drawn, telling him to swim to the boat. That's when the man who stole the jet ski said, "I don't know how to swim." One of the deputies can be heard yelling, "So you're going to take a jet ski and you don't know how to swim." They tossed a rope, pulled him in, and arrested him. That, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, June the 7th, 2022.
Felipe, close, but apparently there's a San Antonio, all right, sports writer who said it before Dick Motta. All right, Dick Motta did say it early in the playoffs. We may be behind, but we haven't lost the series until all the games have been played. Okay. Dan Cook, a San Antonio sportscaster in 1976, only 2 years earlier, he apparently was the first one on record to say the opera ain't over till the fat lady sings. The fat lady was not Kate Smith, by the way. So there you have it.
I doubt you could even say that comment anymore. You don't want to offend fat people.
You can. You just can't refer to anyone specifically.
Gotcha.
Respectfully, how does one not know how to swim?
There are lots of people out there that don't know. I mean,
I've never understood that.
They don't
great hockey announcer Tom Mees died in his own pool.
Yep.
And didn't know how to swim.
Joe Delaney, all right, Chiefs' great running back, didn't know how to swim, yet saw a kid who was drowning and went in to try to save him. Lost his life. Yeah, tragically.
That is tragic.
It happens. Game 4 tonight. Lightning, Rangers, 8 o'clock, 4-letter network.
I love the Lightning tonight.
I like the Lightning tonight. I don't love them. I like them. I might take the goal and a half, though. All right. Lightning minus 175. It's the same number they were on Sunday. Over under 5.5.
I'll take the Lightning in the over. 4-2 Lightning win.
No.
I'll be just dying for that. Everything's going to ride on that empty net goal, David.
Full slate of baseball games because there was only 6 series that got underway last night. Yankees and Twins, by the way, battle of first place teams. This is the beginning of the Yankees starting to play a little bit tougher schedule than what they've had. The Marlins are hosting the Nationals. If Miami is going to get back into any kind of playoff race, they need to win these games.
Absolutely.
Rays are home for the Cardinals. A couple of playoff teams getting together in St. Pete.
That's a fun series right there.
It is. Red Sox continue their series in Anaheim, and Mets continue their series in San Diego. Both road teams winners last night.
The Mets, it doesn't even matter. They need to score 10, they score 10. Need to play a 2-0 game, they play a 2-0 game. It is remarkable what they continue to do, David.
Let's see if it continues for the Phillies. They're in Milwaukee tonight, beginning a series. Remember, they fired Girardi. They were home. They had the Angels who were slumping. They swept them. Now day off, go on the road. Let's see if the whole, firing the manager spurt continues.
Miller and Moulton. Poll question today was about the LIV Tour. Do you support Dustin and Phil, or do you think that they're sellouts? Go to that Mark Miller, the David Moulton, or FL Sports Network on Twitter, floridasportsnetwork.com if you want to vote. I had a runner-up for a poll question because I got a nasty paper cut right before the show. Which is more of a pain in the butt, the paper cut or stubbing your toe?
Ooh. I'd say
Think
paper
about that.
cut.
I would too because it lingers.
There you go. I will say, as the day is going on, the support of the golfers being able to do whatever it is they want to do is slowly gaining more and more support. It's the minority view, but the first early voting was 2-1 against. And now lately I've seen it between like 57 and 60%. It's just a little bit more support for, hey, these guys are independent contractors. They can do what they want.
I know they're independent contractors. They get one hell of a pension from the PGA Tour. It does make it sound like the PGA Tour does nothing for their players. They have a pretty lucrative career because of the PGA Tour.
Don't disagree. I do think the LIV series is making one mistake, though. I think they needed to, and I understand the thinking, and Mark, you've been in this, where if you have to pay someone to broadcast your games, can you ever then turn around and make them pay you? And so that's apparently the reason why the LIV series is not on cable in America, because they didn't want to have to buy the time and then turn around a year or two down the road and say, hey, how about if you pay for it? But I think they needed to be seen in the States.
Yeah, and I don't think YouTube's going to cut it.
No, I don't either, because they're not going to get much attention from the Golf Channel. CBS and NBC this week with the Canadian, next week the U.S. Open, they ain't going to talk about it.
Not unless one of the players that they talk about plays well in the Open.
I don't know if they'll say LIV, though, at all. Miller and Moulton. Have a great rest of your day. Seth Everett will join us tomorrow. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the